Immortal Cultivation begins with time management. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 601 Self-Generation Jiangling, which Jiang stood there in silence, and took a while to accept the unsealed memory. So, I'm not Jiangling, I should be, Lin. I am, the great freedom heavenly demon. As soon as this thought came to mind, the fear, pain, despair and reluctance that was still lingering in my heart disappeared in an instant. Jiangling, is not the difference between the secondary personality and the main personality, but our own different responses in the weak and strong stages. The great freedom heavenly demon is the existence that stands at the top among many extraterritorial demons. It is born to be immortal, so the witches will not feel fear, pain, despair and reluctance. They can only absorb these emotions from others by devouring the souls of the creatures in the lower world. There is no flaw, but there is a flaw. However, Jiangling, who has practiced the magic skills to perfection, has reincarnated himself as a human, so that he can thoroughly cleanse himself in the world of mortals from a first-person perspective, making up for the last shortcoming of the realm. In this way, those witch sisters who only know how to stay in the upper world to enjoy comfort and pleasure will no longer be her opponents. The two sisters, Lichu and Lihen, both looked jubilant, but Jiangling only pondered for a moment and then cast his eyes on the other two people present. The person in the black cloud suddenly turned into a stream of light and fled outward as fast as a desperate man. Elder Kaimo pinched the dough formula and activated all the vicious traps around. The many methods originally prepared for Wei Dongliu were also poured on the three great free demons. The brilliance and aftermath of the magic had not yet dissipated, and the black cloud that had already escaped to the entrance of the cave suddenly let out a violent scream. The black cloud quickly dissipated without a trace, revealing the appearance of the woman inside, who was Yurian, the head of Lingzhou Mountain of Fanxingdou. At this time, Master Yu's eyes were wide open, and his hair and beard were standing up, as if he had suffered extremely tragic mental torture. Soon her body suddenly collapsed and turned into a pool of skin that had been sucked dry. Lihen turned into a ball of black mist and quickly drilled out of her body, saying nausea. A complete careerist, with desires without any emotions, the soul is as hard to swallow as dried meat. Jiangling walked out of the half-collapsed cave, and the body that passed through the wreckage was like black smoke, as if there was no entity that could be harmed. She looked at the pale-faced Elder Kaimoth, and suddenly smiled sweetly. Sister, you must not be rude to Master. Elder Kaimoth was about to say something, but suddenly her mouth opened and closed uncontrollably, and a voice came out from inside. Sister, why don't you let me eat her? During the time I was a human, Master was violent, cold and cruel, but in terms of deeds and not heart, he still treated me with great kindness. Jiangling showed an innocent smile without any evil, and said slowly, in order to repay Master's kindness, I must squeeze Master's value completely and then send her on her way, right? That's right, sister. Li Chu said with a low laugh, and with the hoarse voice of Elder Kaimoth, it seemed particularly gloomy. So sister, is there anything that I can do for Master? Jiangling groaned for a moment, turned his head and looked at his own body. The body had completely turned into a skin bag, and fell limply on the stone platform, mixed with blood and sweat, and could no longer be used. But as a great free demon, she was born with the ability to change. She just rotated her body slightly and condensed a solid, slender body exactly like Jiangling. Then, with another light flick of her finger, countless silver needles appeared on her body, as if she had been stabbed into a bloody man, looking extremely miserable. Sitting down on the stone platform again, Jiangling asked her two sisters, how is this? Compared with the original body, what is the difference? No difference. Lihen floated to Jiangling and said with a smile, then Wei Dongliu is lord here, and he must not notice the abnormality in my sister. When he is deceived by my appearance, I will quietly go around behind him and pounce on him, and eat him clean from the inside out. Before he finished speaking, Jiangling pointed his finger, and Lihen's head exploded immediately. Then, a fuzzy head grew out with difficulty from the crack of her neck filled with black hair, crying and shouting incoherently. Why did sister want to kill me? Lihen, sister tells you. Jiangling said with a smile, Wei Dongliu sister's thing, no one of you are allowed to touch him. She turned her head to look at Lichu in the body of Elder Kai, and her smile became even brighter. Whoever moves, I will kill him, don't say I didn't warn you. Got it. Lihen said in a crying voice, even so, there is no need to kill me. Just to teach you a lesson. Jiangling continued to adjust his sitting posture, making himself look as if he was severely tortured and unable to straighten his body. Okay, you go and find Wei Dongliu for me. But we don't know where he is. Li Chu said in a low voice. Then go find him. Jiangli said calmly, I want to see him holding my body, crying and regretting. Hurry up, don't let me rush you. The two witches looked at each other, and could only hum and fly out of the cave quickly. This cave turned out to be an isolated island somewhere overseas. The two witches identified the direction for a while and then flew towards the Shenzhou mainland. By the way, Li Hin said depressedly, could my sister have fallen in love with Wei Dongliu? Who knows? Li Chu, who controlled the Elder Kaimo, said faintly, can the demons also fall in love? Isn't love our food? Li Hin asked puzzledly, if my sister really has love, doesn't it mean that desire is self-generated and endless? The two witches were silent, and then finally realized it. You are worthy at being my sister. Li Chu came back to her senses and exclaimed, you are so far-sighted and well-designed. We are far from being able to do that. So my sister fell in love with Wei Dongliu on purpose. Li Hin also said enviously, as long as Wei Dongliu was not dead, she will always have a lot of desire for him, and these desires will turn into her own power. In this way, over and over again, with continuous accumulation, my sister will sooner or later be able to completely cultivate the supreme magic skills, and overwhelm the other sisters, and ascend to the throne of the Devil King of the Desire World. Li Chu summed up and exclaimed, we have only figured it out now, but my sister had already figured it out before she went down to the world. The two witches talked to each other and praised Jiangling to the sky, saying that he was omnipotent. But what they admired most was that Jiangling actually fell in love with a human being. For most demons, humans are just food. In order to become stronger, he even fell in love with food. What a brain hole. Chapter 602 Chasing Wife at the Crematorium. After the sword chant, Wei Dongliu took out the Wangxai Bangzhu Immortal Sword and gently stroked the sword with his fingers. The Wangxai Bangzhu Immortal Sword trembled slightly and made a proud clanging sound, as if saying, you, the Sword Master, please don't embarrass me. Wei Dongliu laughed dumbly, what arrogant sword? Think about it carefully, because I have many small accounts, I also have many immortal swords. Even if some immortal swords do not have sword spirits, they can convey the ignorant emotions back through the key sympathy of the sword control technique. Each has its own personality. Needless to say, the Kingping sword is a fun-loving and happy big sister. The Lizhi sword is a weak little girl, and the Wanzhu sword is also quiet and gentle, and it does whatever it is told to do. The Tianyuan Yeki sword is a hot-blooded character. Every time Qiu Chang's Haiyan penetrates the true essence, he can feel its full fighting spirit. The Wang Time Kun sword is a dull good, listening half and doing half, and obviously unwilling to obey Lu Yan's command. Xue Longyin was honest and obedient to Long Long. Wang Shi Jingjian was much more rebellious, and would send back malicious intent from time to time to express his dissatisfaction to Wei Dongliu. As for the Wanshai Bangzhu sword, it was a standard arrogant character. On one hand, it sent back the emotion of I haven't completely agreed with you, and on the other hand, it said I just listened to your command reluctantly because you are quite strong. Wei Dongliu wanted to tell it you were such a boring arrogant person who has retired, but it was impossible for this sword to understand, and it might even get angry, so he simply gave up. After getting the Wanshai Bangzhu sword, if I remember correctly, the demon Dao should have heard the news and killed towards Shushan. What would happen if I took the Wanshai Bangzhu sword to find that Blood-Sea ancestor at this time? Obviously, the Blood-Sea ancestor would immediately announce to the heavenly demon Dao and the in-ghost Dao that the Wanshai Bangzhu sword fell into the hands of the mortal Dao. Let's not talk about how these two Daos will respond, they will definitely not surround Shushan. As a result, there are large discrepancies with the timelines of several other characters, considering that history cannot be changed. That is to say, something will happen at this time that prevents me from immediately going to find that Blood-Sea ancestor. Otherwise, how to explain that I didn't tell a Blood-Sea ancestor immediately after getting the absolute immortal sword? Wei Dongliu was thinking carefully, and suddenly saw a black mist flying in the distance, with a faint human figure emerging in it. Isn't that the outer demon? The black mist quickly flew towards Wei Dongliu, and shouted from a distance, "Oh no, Wei Mojin! Sister Jing has been captured." Fortunately, she revealed her identity as soon as she met, otherwise Wei Dongliu would have directly hit her with a large hole thunder that was specifically designed to defeat demons. Hearing her earnest cry for help, Wei Mojin suspiciously put away the Taoist formula in his sleeve and said lightly, "Who are you?" Reply to the Mojin. The black mist condensed into the shape of a pretty witch, 3 points similar to Jiangling, and said pitifully, "I'm the communication demon cultivated by Sister Jiang." Because Sister Jiang was attacked outside and was captured by her master's magic, she secretly released me on the road and came to the Mojin for help. Oh. Wei Dongliu sneered. This statement seems to be smooth, but in fact there are too many flaws. The most obvious one is that all of Jiangling's magic arts must be mastered by her master, Elder Kaimo, and he will only be more proficient than her. How stupid must one be to think that Jiangling could secretly release the communication demon while being taken away without being discovered by Elder Kaimo? Wei Dongliu sneered, thinking that Jiangling might have been caught, but you, the devil, might be a bait to lure me into a trap. I will definitely go to save you, but why don't I capture you first and interrogate you? As a great free demon, Li Hin is sensitive to human emotions. Seeing that Wei Dongliu didn't believe her nonsense at all, she thought that this brother-in-law still had some brains and was worthy at being a human who could make her sister look at him differently. So she lowered her eyebrows and said, "If you don't believe it, I have no other way. But I will definitely save Sister Jiang." As soon as she finished speaking, she turned around and left, at an astonishing speed, reaching the horizon in almost an instant. Wei Dongliu. This witch ran so fast that even if he flew at full speed, he could only barely catch up with her and couldn't capture her at all. But he couldn't not chase her, otherwise where would Jiangling be found? He could only turn into a sword light and control the Wangxi Bangzhuxian sword to chase after her. Li Hin was leading the escape. Seeing that Wei Dongliu could actually keep up with her speed, she couldn't help but feel playful and continued to increase her flying speed. When Wei Dongliu's sword light was shaky and almost thrown away, she slowly slowed down. Wei Dongliu was also very depressed. How could this demon run so fast? It was comparable to the high-speed rail Shinkansen. He felt something was wrong, so he told Kunlun Mirror, a Jin, pay attention to scanning the surroundings. If there is any danger, remind me to move and evacuate in time. Okay. Kunlun Mirror replied. What's your tone? Wei Dongliu asked suspiciously, why do you seem eager to try? Really? No. Kunlun Mirror pretended to be stupid and said, I'm just a mirror. Ha ha. Wei Dongliu became more and more suspicious. After thinking for a while, he recalled that this broken mirror seemed to dislike Jiangmo Envy from the beginning. To Zhu Yinlian, Zesu, and Xiaoluli, her attitude was, can you please not lie to them, forget it, I'm tired, let it go. But when she was using Jiangling, this broken mirror basically didn't say a word. So, the broken mirror behaved strangely. It must be related to Jiang the witch. Thinking of this, Wei Dongliu became more cautious. I saw that the witch kept speeding up all the way until she reached the east coast of Yangzhou, then she slowed down and rushed down through the clouds. Wei Dongliu followed the sword down and saw that there was an isolated island in the sea below. Li Hin plunged into the island, and Wei Dongliu chased after her, and found a cave where she disappeared. A mirror, scan for me. Li Hin ignored the terrain of the cave, went through the wall directly to the deep cave, and shouted, Sister Lian, my brother-in-law is here. Li Chu controlled the Elder Kaimo, who was originally lying in ambush on the east coast of Yangzhou. Seeing Li Hin coming from the horizon, he hurried back to the island cave to report the situation to Jiangling. Seeing Li Hin coming to report again, she pulled out a ghostly silver needle, manipulated the Elder Kaimo to show a vicious smile like Rong Mama, and shouted in a vicious voice, Evil disciple. Why can't you hold on? I still have 18 martial arts that I haven't used yet, and I'm going to use them on you. Jiangli frowned when he heard it secretly. What is the classical 18 martial arts? Can you pay attention to the latest terms in the world of cultivation? However, when she noticed that Wei Dongliu was approaching, she could only close her eyes and pretend to be tortured to death. Wei Dongliu rushed into the cave and saw the Elder Kaimo persecuting Jiangmo Envy. Without thinking, he called out directly, a Jing. Kunlun Mirror immediately pretended to cast an illusion to freeze the Elder Kaimo. Wei Dongliu did not hesitate to take out a small arrow given by the ancestor of the Blood Sea, injected true energy and immediately threw it. In order not to hurt Jiangmo Envy who was close at hand, the blasting range of the small arrow was compressed by Wei Dongliu, so it was extremely powerful. It pierced into the body of the Kaimoth Elder like lightning, and then immediately released energy. Before Li Chu could escape from it, he was swept up by the annihilation power of the small arrow and turned directly into ashes. Then he escaped into the ground and began to slowly resurrect. Wei Dongliu had no time to see if she was dead or not, but rushed to the side of Jiangmo Envy in 2 steps, and his spiritual consciousness swept over her body. Although she was still alive, she was like a candle in the wind. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 603. You little bastard, you want to play tricks on me? Wei Dongliu flicked his finger and the pill bottle popped out from his sleeve. The cork popped open and the pill shot into Jin's mouth like a bullet, but she held it in her mouth without moving. She was too weak to swallow. Wei Dongliu pressed her philtrum again and lifted it up, and pressed her throat with his other hand, and the pill naturally slid down from the root of her tongue. After a while, Jin woke up and spit out blood. Wei Dongliu pressed her fragrant shoulder with his right hand, and his true energy rushed into her meridians and rushed out from the acupuncture points. The silver needles all over her body were pushed out by the true energy and fell to the ground along with blood and sweat. Golden core realm? No, it seems to be far more powerful and abundant than the ordinary golden core realm's true essence, but it seems to lack the breath of the nascent soul. What is the hidden secret method? Jin carefully felt the true essence in his body, opened his eyes weakly, and murmured, "Doorway, you are here, don't talk." Wei Dongliu said in a deep voice, "I am helping you heal your injuries." "No need." Jin said with difficulty, "My injuries are not only in the flesh, but also in the soul and consciousness." Wei Dongliu's expression was stern, and he quickly stretched out two fingers and pointed at her eyebrows. Sure enough, her sea of consciousness had been destroyed. What on earth is going on? Wei Dongliu frowned and asked. As long as the vitality has not completely dissipated, there is a way to remedy the physical injury. But this sea of consciousness was destroyed. Jin was able to hold on without becoming an idiot. Master captured me and threatened to refine me into a sacrifice for the devil. Jin said miserably, trembling as he stretched out his hand, as if he wanted to touch Wei Dongliu's face. "You want me to betray you, but I didn't." Her breathing suddenly became rapid, and blood flowed out of her mouth and nose again, which frightened Wei Dongliu, and he hurriedly continued to send her true energy to try to stabilize her injuries. "I promised you." Jin seemed to have used up her last bit of strength, as if she wanted to squeeze out a smile to comfort him, but in the end she failed. "I didn't." Her right hand, which she stretched out towards Wei Dongliu's face, also fell down weakly. Betrayal. Wei Dongliu caught her falling hand and felt that the heat inside had been lost. Only sticky blood remained. She was dead. Wei Dongliu took a deep breath and felt that the whole cave was filled with the smell of blood, so strong that it almost suffocated him. In the past few hours, while he was showing off his magic power on the Tibetan plateau, she stayed in such a small cave without sunlight. How many liters of blood were drained helplessly? What kind of inhumane torture did she suffer? How many times did she call her own name, but got no response, and could only watch her life slip away miserably? What about the promised protection? The dignified Wei Demon Lord can't even protect a woman next to him. Fuck. Wei Dongliu suddenly stood up, and with his backhand, he used the Wonxai Bangju immortal sword to chop at the place where Elder Kaimo was originally standing, cutting the ground several inches. Unfortunately, the previous small arrow was too powerful, and Elder Kaimo had already been dead by now, and there was no way to whip his corpse to vent his anger. The surging demonic energy kept rolling in his body, and Wei Dongliu felt nauseous and wanted to vomit. A huge sense of frustration surged in his heart, and for a moment he even forgot to blame Ma Jing. His face was as gloomy as water, his heart was ashen, and his soul seemed to be completely solidified and difficult to change. The next second, it surged again. He turned around and strode away. Jin. This is not a request, this is a demand. Wei Dongliu said coldly, if you still want me to help you collect the fragments of the heaven repairing stone. Kunlin Jing immediately cursed in his heart. If I had known that the devil had deliberately mobilized and aroused his negative emotions and made him regret, I shouldn't have stood by and watched the show. Who knew that he would shoot himself in the foot? Yuanshui, don't be anxious. She hurriedly comforted Wei Dongliu. Is there a possibility that everything you just saw was actually fake? I mean, actually my future self came here in advance to save her, but after she woke up, she pretended to be dying to tease you. You? Wei Dongliu was puzzled, and then reacted, then why didn't you remind me? You want to laugh at me with her, right? You are so brave, you broken mirror. Cough, cough, cough. Kunlun Mirror silently cursed the witch tens of thousands of times, and said in a wrong tone, I was just joking with you, why do you care so much about a girl? Well, you go back now, tap her forehead, and then say, "Don't pretend, I know you are not dead," and she will naturally not be able to pretend anymore. I'll remember this account. Wei Dongliu turned around and entered the cave again without hesitation. In the cave, the two witch sisters were chirping and offering slander. "Sister, I said that humans are unreliable. Look, he just dumped your body here and didn't even bother to bury it. This dog man is really hateful. Why don't I give it to my sister to eat?" Poof. Li Hen's head exploded again. She could only reassemble her body and cry, "Sister, it was obviously your brother-in-law who let you down. Why did you kill him?" "I said it." Jiangling smiled, but the smile on her face was no longer happy. Instead, it was cold and sharp. "Even if he was unkind to me, only I can decide how to deal with him." Before she finished speaking, footsteps were heard outside. The two demon sisters quickly drilled into the ground, and Jiangling subconsciously continued to lie on the corpse with his head down, pretending to be dead. Wei Dongliu came in front of her, lifted her chin with his left hand, flicked her forehead with his right finger, and said loudly, "Lian, Lian. You are not dead, so how long are you going to sleep?" Jiangling. She kept pretending to be dead, secretly sensing the emotions overflowing from the other party, but she could not find any uneasiness and sadness at all, as if the strong negative emotions just now were all swept away. He was not deliberately deceiving me, but really saw through my disguise. Sighing in his heart, Jiangling had to open his eyes helplessly and ask curiously, "Doorway, how did you confirm that I am not dead? People around me, Wei Dongliu, can't they die casually?" Wei Dongliu smiled faintly. Jiangling was speechless, thinking that if I were not a demon, I would have died a long time ago when you came. No, Doorway is not the kind of person who likes to bluff. Does he really have the means to save me? Is it because I didn't die this time that I didn't find out? The Great Freedom Demon was at a loss. He wanted to probe deeper into Wei Dongliu's heart, but he found that the other party's sea of consciousness was like a solid wall and he couldn't get in. Chapter 604 I think the relationship can go further. Fellow Daoist Jiang, what happened? I told you, I was ambushed by my master and almost killed. Oh, then what? Then, in the crisis, I suddenly had an epiphany and broke through the bottleneck. My cultivation level was greatly improved, so I survived. But I saw that fellow Daoist Jiang didn't seem to be injured at all. Because I broke through the bottleneck. Breaking through the bottleneck can heal injuries. This is unheard of. That's right, I also find it incredible. I see. Wei Dongliu sneered, then why did you pretend to be dying to lie to me? Because of resentment. Jiangli smiled secretly. Her smile was so sweet that there was no resentment on her face. Resentment. Doorway didn't save me in time, which made me resentful, so I played a trick on you. Please confirm clearly, Doorway Jiang, I don't seem to have the obligation to save you. Wei Dongliu was displeased. I came to save you just because of our past friendship. That's not right. Jiangling smiled and said, in terms of the friendship between Doorway and me, it would be unreasonable not to save me. Didn't Doorway admit this? Doorway Jiang, what do you think the friendship between you and me is? Wei Dongliu pretended not to understand and asked tentatively. At that moment, he seemed to see a subtle and incomprehensible feeling flashing in Jiangling's eyes. I think it is a relationship that can be entrusted with unconditional trust, or even life and death. Jiangling said slowly. The two demons hiding underground were shocked. Li Hen was surprised and said, "Sister, you are so close to this human." No. Li Chu was more experienced and said to her sister, "It's not that the relationship is so close, but sister wants to use this opportunity to create a fait accompli and force the other party to admit that the relationship has become closer." Oh. Li Hen thought to herself, what's the point of learning this thing? Sister is really obsessed. No, sister is the devil. Sister really knows how to play. Wei Dongliu was also surprised when he heard this, and lowered his head and kept silent. He was such an experienced person that he naturally realized that Jiangling at this time was completely different from the previous Jiang witch. To be precise, the offensiveness was too strong. Although Jiangling in the past was also proactive and took advantage of every opportunity, she was sensible and always kept a sense of proportion, and would not maintain an overly aggressive posture, perhaps because she felt that she was weaker than Wei Dongliu. And now, although the Jiang witch is more lively and loves to laugh, she speaks in a completely straightforward manner, as if she is going to be dommed against the wall in the next second. A Jing. Wei Dongliu called to himself, "Scan, is this really witch Jiang?" "Yes." Kumlin Jing replied, "Always. I always feel something is wrong." Wei Dongliu muttered suspiciously. What she said about her cultivation realm breaking through, is it true? It's true. Kumlinjing said slowly, and her strength has indeed been increased. She paused for a moment, as if she was considering her words, and finally added. A huge increase. A huge increase. Wei Dongliu asked in surprise, has she formed a pill? A little higher. Kumlinjing thought that since he had said it already, he might as well make it clearer. What do you mean? The great perfection of the Wei stage of the Golden Core realm? A bit higher. The Baoguang stage of the Nascent Soul realm? A bit higher. The Yuting stage of the Nascent Soul realm? Half a step to immortality. A bit higher. Are you saying that Witch Jing has already reached the level of an immortal? Wei Dongliu sneered. There's no point in making such a joke, Jing. I haven't yet investigated your fault for not reminding me before. Before he finished speaking, Jianglin saw that he had been silent for a long time, and she became a little impatient, so she simply stretched out her hand to grab his collar and pulled him in front of her. Wei Dongliu was caught off guard, and his upper body fell forward, almost kissing her. Fortunately, Jianglin supported him in time and asked unhappily, is it so difficult to answer my question, fellow Daoist Wei? Wei Dongliu immediately tried to stabilize his body, but Jianglin quickly stretched out his arms and hugged his waist tightly, not letting him escape from his side, with a tearful look on his face. Wow, I didn't expect fellow Daoist Wei to be such a fickle person. In the past on Jimmo Island, you clearly agreed to let me marry you. How can you pretend not to remember now? Wei Dongliu was simply confused. When did I promise to let you marry me? However, he also saw that this Jingwitch was really unreasonable, so he tried to break free from her arms. As a result, from a little force, to half the force, and even struggling with all his strength, he couldn't break free at all. The two arms of the Jingwitch were as white as lotus roots and as tender as cream, but they held him tightly like iron hoops, which made Wei Dongliu shocked and angry. Wait, how could the physical strength of this Jingwitch be so exaggerated? I have practiced in Shushan after all, and my bones are much stronger than ordinary cultivators, but I can't break free from her arms. Could it be that what Ah Jing said is true? This Jingwitch, he was secretly frightened in his heart, and saw Jingwitch, who was hugging his waist, raised her head, and there were actually 2 lines of tears on her face, and her eyes were full of sorrow and misery. The unique fragility of this woman captured Wei Dongliu's reason for a short time, making his heart soften and his head hot, and he almost agreed. However, wait, this is an illusion. Ah Jing, she is using an illusion on me, right? No, it's just pure acting. Kumlinjing sighed and said, it's really useless, Guanzui. A few tears have shaken you. Shut up, you broken mirror. If you hadn't reminded me, how could I face such a difficult situation? Wei Dongliu skillfully used the method of passing the blame, and then began to think quickly. Thinking carefully, deepening the relationship with Jingwitch is obviously a good thing with no disadvantages. First of all, according to the scanning results of Ah Jing, this Jingwitch had an epiphany, and her realm strength is obviously increased. Further deepening the relationship with her can better borrow her power. Whether it is fighting, guarding the sect, or training the 2 apprentices. Secondly, Wei Dongliu's goal is to become the co-leader of the magic path, and this versatile witch can find out a lot of information about the magic path for him. Of course, the hill can also provide information, but it is clear that the source of information cannot be placed on this untrustworthy organization. Finally, this Jingwitch is too clingy. If I have to struggle out of her arms, I must turn against her and fight. Of course, I am not afraid to kill her, but this woman actually sheds tears and shows such a pitiful expression. This is simply cheating. Ah. Wei Dongliu sighed and had to continue what Jianglin said. I didn't expect that brother Jingdoist has such deep feelings for me. Indeed, we have been through too many things with each other, and we do have the basis to trust each other. That's right. Jianglin immediately loosened his waist, then held his arms intimately, and said with a smile, I knew that brother Wei Doist is not an ungrateful person. In that case, when will we become Taoist companions? Wei Dongliu. Chapter 605. Mysterious character, only riddles left. A gentleman once said, people who like to compromise will not agree to open a window in the house, but if you propose to remove the roof, they will consider opening a window. However, this is the first time that Wei Dongliu has seen such a pushy person. I just promised her that I could open the window, but she has already started to discuss with me to remove the roof. Is it too hasty to be a Taoist couple? On the way back to Shenzhou, Wei Dongliu declined, you and I don't have any emotional foundation. Doi Wei is joking again. Jiangli showed a surprised but ladylike smile. Do you remember that on Jimmo Island? We went hand in hand. In shipping mounting, we respected each other like guests. In Jinu Temple, we lived and died together. In Jiaowang Quan, we swore an oath to each other. If these are not considered emotional foundations, do we have to have the orders of parents and the words of matchmakers to be justified and let Doi be willing to take responsibility? Wei Dongliu. Although these are all things that happened, aren't we going to explore adventures? Why did you make it sound like we were traveling and falling in love? And the last vow of eternal love was completely made up by you, okay? Fellow Daoist Jiang. He tried calmly. You seem to have changed a lot after surviving a disaster. If it were you in the past, you would never be so outspoken, so calculating, and so treacherous. I'm not used to it. Really? Jiangli smiled even more happily. Then, fellow Daoist Wei, do you think you like me more now, or before I changed? Wei Dongliu. Jiangli suddenly hugged his arm intimately, rested her chin on his shoulder, and kept blinking at him. The fragrance was refreshing and the eyes were gentle. Even though Wei Dongliu had been through hundreds of battles, he almost blushed at her soft and warm behavior. However, he still relied on his extremely strong willpower to suppress the beautiful feelings that surged in his heart, but ignored the intimate behavior of Witch Jiang. Although his face did not reveal any flaws, Jianglin was a great freedom heavenly demon after all, and he could see through his flash of strange emotions, and was immediately shocked and surprised. Just now, she had used her eyes to show her magic skills and charms with 100% of her power. Even if an immortal was here and was caught off guard by her charms, he would be captured by her and become her dog. This fellow Daoist Wei was only slightly trembling in his heart, not to mention his eyes, and even his pants did not move. Thinking of Wei Donliu's red-haired and double-pupiled demon king's Dharma body, Jianglin, with his rich knowledge of the heavenly demon, immediately realized that this person must have the blood of the Avitai demon king. Only the Avitai demon king, whose mind was chaotic, could ignore the illusion attack of the great freedom heavenly demon. But if Wei Donliu is that pure-blooded Avitai demon lord from the depths of hell, he would not be so nice to her, and would not have any psychological fluctuations because of her charm. In short, Wei Dongliu should be a human-demon hybrid. Because of his extraordinary talent, the blood of the demon lord in his body is too pure, so he has reached the realm of chaotic demon body. Very good, very good. In this way, you are qualified to be my only loyal dog, so as not to be gossiped by other witches and say that I have lost my mind and am hanging around with food all day long. Jiangli thought so, and the smile on his face became sweeter and more charming. The innate temptation power of the demon also rose rapidly, almost making Wei Dongliu dry his mouth and his heart beat faster. The Kunlun mirror was in his sea of consciousness, and he had to mobilize a lot of spiritual power to help Wei Dongliu guard his mind. I laughed to death. Do you really think that the power of the demon can be resisted by the so-called your strong willpower? Cheng Yuanzhu, oh Cheng Yuanzhu, you really don't know how high the sky is and how deep the earth is. You still have to rely on this mirror to protect you. It's a pity that this fool is still in the dark and doesn't know the true identity of the demon, so I can't use this matter to confront him. Forget it, the demon is obviously in love with him, to the point of obsession, and it is impossible for him to harm him in the future who would deliberately destroy his own life gate. But after this fool repairs the sky, his true identity will be exposed to the demon, and the possibility of successfully running away will be reduced again. Ha 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 ha. Calculating carefully, 3 people, 1 demon, and 1 devil, were actually tied to marriage by him, entangled in a ball, and I don't know what the final outcome will be. Now it seems that by then, at least they must have the strength of the fairy level, otherwise they will not even have a chance to end. But if they all have the strength of the fairy level, they will definitely be killed and blood will flow. Well, never mind, that's none of my business. I have already made it clear to him that I will try my best to help him collect the stones for repairing the sky, which means that this cooperation relationship is limited to before repairing the sky. After the repair of the sky, the cooperation was naturally terminated. Otherwise, would this mirror be his nanny and wipe his ass for the rest of his life? Kunlun Mirror secretly calculated, and used the method of shirking responsibility that he learned from nowhere, and soon threw the last trace of guilt in his heart to the sky. Let's have some more fun. More. Wei Dongliu didn't know the conspiracy in Kunlun Mirror's heart, but continued to test Jiang Mo Envy. Since fellow Daoist Jiang has experienced a life and death moment of enlightenment and broken through the bottleneck of the original realm, how much strength do you have now? Guess. Jiang Mo Envy asked cunningly. Jiatan. Guess again. Yuning. Guess again. It can't be an immortal. Wei Dongliu laughed. If I have the strength of an immortal, how will fellow Daoist Wei look at me? Jiang Li asked casually. Wei Dongliu thought carefully, and then replied, I'll keep my distance. Huh? Jiang Li asked curiously, why? Is fellow Daoist Wei the kind of man with a strong self-esteem who will not allow the person next to him to be stronger than him? That's not the case. Wei Dongliu wanted to clarify again, we're really not in a relationship of bedside companions, but in order to maintain his mysterious identity, he didn't want to dwell on this word. Suddenly, an idea came to him, and he smiled calmly. Every immortal in this world has his own destiny. If there is one more immortal, then all the destinies in the world will change completely, and this new immortal will inevitably become the center of all changes, like a whirlpool of undercurrents. So if this person is fellow Daoist Jiang, I can only retreat away from you for the time being. After seeing all the changes in destiny clearly and figuring out how to make the next move, I will be able to be much more relaxed afterwards. This profound riddle he learned from Taoist Luo the Helder really succeeded in stunning Jiang Li. The witch chewed on the meaning of it for a while, thinking that from the tone of Wei Mojin, it seems that he wants to use the world as a chessboard and all living beings as chess pieces, and as an uncontrollable chess piece, my fate will disrupt his original deployment. Interesting, really interesting, then let me see what kind of chess game you were going to play. Doyoe. She called crisply. What's wrong? Wei Dongliu asked gently. Jiang Li hugged his arm again, and pressed his whole body against him, saying delicately, if you want to place a piece in this world, I dare to watch it carefully. Chapter 606. The Way of Life, Great Again. By the time Wei Dongliu and Jiang Li arrived at Shushan, the war had been going on for some time. If we look at the historical record, the Shushan Sword Immortals won more and lost less, and were clearly better in the confrontation. If we consider it from the perspective of the exchange of children, since it was an open battle, for every sword immortal who died in Shushan, the demon sect might have to die 4 or 5 monks. But on the one hand, the resources that the sect has to train these 4 or 5 demon monks are not much less than that of training a Shushan sword immortal. Not everyone is as self-reliant as King Luo Peak. On the other hand, if the war continues like this, when Shushan is seriously injured, the demon sect may not even be injured. Therefore, the atmosphere on the Shushan side became more and more tense day by day, so that when Wei Dongliu arrived at the demon sect's main formation, he saw a Jin and Zenren from Xian Peak performing the sword method. The dark grey sword light turned into a shield, covering his body tightly. The other flying sword was slowly chasing the demon cultivator on the opposite side, clearly putting safety first and grinding the opponent to death with the least risk. The fact that the Shushan sword immortal, who was always warlike, was forced to adopt such a wretched life-saving fighting style shows that the situation of Shushan itself is not very optimistic. On the demon side, everyone was excited and thought that the situation is very good, but the top leaders saw the worried looks of the ancestors and knew that the current situation was not as good as the ancestors expected. As for the worries of the immortal ancestors, it was naturally because the secret agents on the Shushan side had never got the news of the Wangxai Juepsen sword. The Juepsen sword rang on the plateau. At the time, Shushan was fighting with the Shirodo. The Wangxai Juepsen sword was likely to fall into the hands of someone from these two sects. If a cultivator on either side succeeded, he might be sent to fight by the sect at any time during this fierce war period. In order to improve his strength as soon as possible to protect himself, he would definitely force him to recognize his master as soon as possible. The harder the Juepsen sword resisted, the easier it was to resonate with the Jiao 3 swords, further pointing out the direction for the immortal ancestors. However, the fact is that the Tianmo Zhuxian sword, Jiao Luxian sword, and Zhuheishan Jian did not get any response from the Wangxai Juepsen sword. In other words, either the other party endured and did not start to refine the Wangxai Juepsen sword, or the other party's magical powers were so great that the Wangxai Juepsen sword could not contact the outside world at all. Of course, there are some other smaller possibilities, such as the Wangxai Juepsen sword successfully broke free and ran away, and was not captured by anyone naturally, it would not contact the Jiao 3 swords again. For example, the Wangxai Juepsen sword directly recognized its master, and of course it would not betray its master to contact the outside world. There are countless possibilities, and the ancestors cannot rule them out one by one. At present, they can only do their best and listen to fate, hoping that the situation will turn around as soon as possible. When Wei Dongliu found the Bloodsea Patriarch, he saw this skinny old man hiding in a mountain temple, kneeling on a cushion, mumbling something, silently chanting some secret code. The Blood-Sea Patriarch practiced both Taoism and Buddhism. At this time, he was performing a very difficult Buddhist secret method called fate communication, which can calculate the past karma of all living beings. Wei Dongliu naturally couldn't recognize him, so he just stood outside the door and waited silently. Jingli secretly saw that it was so boring, and he didn't know how long he had to wait, so he ran away first. He would come back to find him after Wei Mojin finished his business. Soon, the Blood-Sea Patriarch did not calculate the whereabouts of the Wanshai Wuxian sword, but he calculated that Wei Dongliu was waiting outside the door, so he sighed and said, "Come in, ancestor." Wei Dongliu bowed. "I wonder why so many fellows of the demon sect gathered here. Are they going to attack the Shanqing sect of Shushan? If they really wanted to attack Shushan, they would definitely use every possible means and would never send people to fight every day. Could the fight be so fierce that Shushan would be wiped out?" Wei Dongliu had a good motive to ask this question. The Blood-Sea Patriarch glanced at him, but he did not intend to hide it from him, but just said lightly, "Not long ago, we calculated that the Wanshai Wuxian sword came into being and was unearthed in the southwest of Shenzhou, so Shushan is the key suspect." Of course, he did not say Shurdao is also a key monitoring target, but simply explained the motive for the siege of Shushan as suspecting that the Wuxian sword fell into the hands of Shushan. "The Wanxai Wuxian sword?" Wei Dongliu asked in surprise. "Is it the Wanxai Wuxian sword from the Four Swords of Jirizhao in the past?" "That's right." The Blood-Sea Patriarch was upset inside. The Wanxai Wuxian sword has been missing since the defeat of Jirizhao in the past. Now that it has been unearthed, we must not let it fall into the hands of Shushan. We must find it as soon as possible. Of course, it can't fall into the hands of the foreign monks in Chura Road. This can't be said publicly. What are the appearance characteristics of the Wanxai Wuxian sword? Wei Dongliu asked seriously. Seeing that he was willing to share his worries, the Blood-Sea Patriarch felt warm in his heart, and said patiently, "The Wuxian sword is roughly the same as the other three swords of Jirizhao. The sword is 3 feet 6 inches and 2 points long, dark grey, with serrations on both sides of the sword body, and it looks ancient and vicissitudes of life." "What kind of ancient and vicissitudes of life?" Wei Dongliu took out the Wanxai Wuxian sword. "Is it like this?" "Oh, yes, yes." The Blood-Sea Patriarch glanced at it and said casually, "Its surface is so dull, like an old iron tool." Then, his words stopped abruptly, like a duck with its throat pinched. Wei Dongliu smiled in his heart, but said, "That's great. I happened to be traveling on the plateau the day before yesterday. I saw this sword passing through the clouds, so I rushed up and seized it. Please help me take a look at it, ancestor." The Blood-Sea Patriarch trembled and stroked the sword body of the Wanxai Wuxian sword, as if he had never thought that he could recover it like this. Until the Wanxai Wuxian sword made an angry clanging sound and used the sword energy to bounce the bird claws of the Blood-Sea ancestor away. Why didn't you say it earlier?" The Blood-Sea ancestor was furious. "Do you want to see us old bones laugh at you?" If it were an ordinary cultivator, he would definitely think that the Blood-Sea ancestor was taking the opportunity to get angry and wanted to forcibly seize the sword. Of course, this also included Wei Dongliu. But Wei Dongliu had confirmed the history from the Kunlun line and knew that the Blood-Sea ancestor finally provided protection for Wei Dongliu to hold the sword, so he said calmly, "That's not my intention, I just went to the East China Sea for an emergency." The Blood-Sea ancestor stared at him, his lips moved, and he used the Destiny Pass again. "Well, I didn't lie, I really just returned from the East China Sea. Think about it carefully." He handed over the Wanxai Wuxian sword so openly, which clearly showed that he was not worried that I would rob it. Wei boy trusts me so much. If I get hung up on the details, wouldn't I be laughed at by the world? Thinking of this, and thinking that the mortal Do actually has 2 of the 4 swords of Jirizhao, the Blood-Sea Patriarch couldn't help but burst into laughter. Good. 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 Wei boy, you did a good job this time." Wei Dongliu was speechless, thinking that he seemed to have heard this compliment somewhere before. Of the words and sentences used by immortals so poor. Chapter 607 Eating an Immortal. Sure enough, as the history has been observed, although the Blood-Sea ancestor was a little reluctant, he still returned the Wanxai Wuxian sword to Wei Dongliu. "You guessed right, this is the Wanxai Wuxian sword." He sighed and said, "Among the 4 swords of Jirizhao, the Wanxai Wuxian sword is the best at transformation. After the Shuxian sword formation is set up, the changes in the sword energy in the formation are controlled by this sword. Since the Battle of Chanji, the Wanxai Wuxian sword is different from the other 3 swords and has never been found by us. Therefore, the Huxian sword formation has never been complete, otherwise it would not have been so easily cracked by Kunlun last time. In this case, this sword should be kept by the ancestor. Wei Dongliu said calmly. How dare you test me? The Blood-Sea ancestor said unhappily, since this Wongsai Wepsian sword recognizes you as its master, can I ignore its wishes and forcibly take it from you? In fact, even if I forcibly take it, it will be difficult to make it recognize its master in a short time. King Ping's sword complained. The ancestor's character is a role model for the younger generation. Wei Dongliu was finally moved. Seeing that his expression was not fake, the Blood-Sea ancestor's face eased, and he stood up and said, Follow me. Where are you going, ancestor? Humph. The Blood-Sea ancestor sneered in a low voice, Of course I'm going to eliminate the trouble for you. Do you think anyone can accept the Wongsai Wepsian sword in your hands? The two left the mountain god temple and flew towards the direction of other demon cults. Time went back to when Wei Dongliu was still waiting outside the mountain god temple. Seeing that he seemed to be planning to wait outside, Jianglin was a little bored, so he found a reason to run away. Of course, if it was the previous Jianglin, he would definitely respectfully accompany Wei Dongliu to wait outside, and then make a good impression in front of the Blood-Sea ancestor. But now Jianglin is no longer the kind of weak cultivator who needs to be careful to please the immortal. Sister. Li Chu appeared beside her. It's so boring, why don't we go back? No. Jiangli smiled secretly, you must stay in the lower world to accompany me. For the demons, the lower world is really a very boring place except for a lot of food. It is far less comfortable than the sixth desire world filled with all kinds of sounds, colors, illusions and music. For example, it's like people who are used to computers, mobile phones and the internet, occasionally traveling in ancient times where there is nothing. It will soon become boring. But it's really boring. Li Hin also complained, there is no fun at all. The only interesting thing is my brother-in-law, but you don't let us play with him. Before the voice fell, Li Hin's head exploded again. Sister, why are you killing again? I told you, you can't touch him. Jiangli said slowly. So others can move? Li Chu immediately grasped the key point sharply. Sister, have you been in a sect before? What is it called, the demon sect? Yes, so? Jiangli raised his eyebrows secretly. Why don't we go to the heavenly demon sect, eat the sect's immortal, and then pretend to be an immortal and manipulate the entire sect behind the scenes? How about that? Li Chu said excitedly. Manipulate the sect? Jianglin showed an extremely bored expression. You don't know how troublesome and boring it is to train disciples and manage the sect. We really don't know. Li Chu and Li Hin said in unison. Okay. Jiangli thought to himself that he couldn't really treat his two sisters like dogs. If you only guard the door without giving them meat, how many times will a dog bark? At the heavenly demon sect's residence, the ancestor Zizaye was concentrating on refining the heavenly demon in front of the altar. This time, she was going to refine the blood marrow bewitching heart demon, a high-level heavenly demon that she had seduced from the lower world by sacrificing tens of thousands of mortals with blood. She must not let this demon go back to heaven after eating his fill. The blood marrow bewitching heart demon, from the outside, is a ball covered with spikes, with countless human faces hidden between the spikes, and its body is shrouded in scarlet mist. The mist had a sweet fragrance, and ordinary cultivators would immediately feel dizzy and intoxicated when they smelled it, and their bodies would not be able to move on their own, and then they would be pounced on by the blood marrow demon and eaten clean. However, at this time, the blood-colored mist was firmly locked inside by the rune formation around the altar, and could not escape at all. The ancestor Zizaye was still performing Taoist magic, constantly siphoning the mist out from inside. As the mist became less and less, the trapped blood marrow demon had to spontaneously spit out more blood-colored mist, and even squeeze the source of the demon. If this continued, it would be only a matter of time before it surrendered. The blood marrow demon fell to the ground, expanding and contracting as if it was panting, and suddenly it bounced up and slammed hard on the barrier around the altar. In vain, the altar remained motionless. When a senior cultivator of the heavenly demon faces a heavenly demon, as long as they are not cultivators who are overconfident and overestimate their own abilities, they will basically take advantage of it. The heavenly demon descends to the mortal world to devour the sacrifice, and then finds that the surrounding area is already full of various targeted traps and means, and there is also a cultivator who has been prepared for a long time, watching covetously, so it is likely that it will not be able to escape. Jianglin brought his two sisters and quietly came to the side of the altar without being discovered by any cultivator along the way. This heavenly demon is best at illusion, and even immortals cannot identify it. Otherwise, how can it be said that the harm of all laws is the first of the inner demons? So the immortal of the heavenly demon row is this old woman? Li Hin asked first. I think so. Jiang Lin answered casually. She was originally a small cultivator in the Foundation establishment realm in the heavenly demon row, and she did not have the qualifications to meet the immortal of the sect. TSK. Li Chu stared at the blood marrow heart demon in the center of the altar and said with great joy, "Oh, isn't that the city lord Mianai? Long time no see, how come he is so weak? Is it that old man Mianai?" Li Hin hurried over to take a look. It really is. Sister, come and see, the old man Mianai was actually caught by the ancestor of your sect. Jiang Li secretly took a look and sneered. Good. He has come to this day. Why don't we wait until he is refined, and then eat this immortal? Li Chu suggested with a sly smile, otherwise, we will feel unhappy if we save his life for nothing. Stop it. Jiang Li secretly shook his head, there is no need to make enemies with others for no reason. She displayed the supreme magic power and went straight into the sea of consciousness of the free ancestor. Li Chu and Li Hin looked at each other for a moment, and then they also displayed their magic power and followed their sister to sneak in. The ancestor of Zizaya was still busy, unaware that she had been parasitized by the inner demon. Seeing that the blood marrow demon was unruly, she couldn't help but sneer a few times and increased the output of her true energy. When her true energy was almost consumed, she was about to take a pill. As a result, when she opened the pill bottle, she found that there were countless baby heads the size of beads inside. She was secretly surprised, and she knew that she had been confused by the inner demon's illusion. Just as she was about to quickly pinch the formula to cast a spell to get rid of the demon, she found that both her arms were out of control at the same time, as if she was interrupted by the demon. However, how many years has the ancestor of Zizara lived? Of course, there are more ways to deal with the demon. She bit her tongue with her teeth, bit off a few drops of blood, and lowered her head to spray it towards her waist. The jade pendant on her waist was stained with blood, and immediately shone brightly. This fluid-like light instantly spread into her limbs and bones, and she heard the sorrow and hatred of separation that were parasitic on her left and right arms scream at the same time, and hurriedly fled to the sea of consciousness along the meridians. In the sea of consciousness, Jiang Lin unhurriedly used his magic skills. A huge amount of demonic energy rolled and surged like a tide, blocking the edge of the sea of consciousness tightly, and blocking the spreading light for the sisters who escaped in. The light hit the demonic energy, but it couldn't get any further, so that the Master Zizaya's mind sank suddenly, and the alarm bell rang. With such a strong cultivation, could it be the great free demon? This kind of demon would not come to the lower world once in hundreds of thousands of years, so how come I, an old woman, ran into him now? You have some knowledge. Li Chu and Li Hin laughed. What other means do you have? Just use them. If this is all you have, then you'd better give up resistance and let us sisters eat you. Chapter 608. Demons gather together. The immortal sword belongs to them. At the demon sect's headquarters, all the immortals gathered together for a rare occasion due to the invitation from the Blood Sea Patriarch. Wei Dongliu swept his eyes over the people present and memorized their names and features. The founder of the Fanxingdao sect is the Blood Sea Patriarch. The founder of the Tianmodao sect is the Free Patriarch. The founder of the Ingidao sect is the White-Bone Venerable. These three sat in the main seats, and it was clear that they were the strongest among all the immortals in the demon sect camp. It was said that they all had cultivation levels above the golden immortal. In addition, it was said that the White-Bone Venerable was the strongest among the three. He was the direct disciple of the K'un Taoist under the Jirizhao Shaiji Niangyang, and he had received the true Taoist teachings of the Skull Mountain White-Bone Cave. The second was the Free Patriarch. According to the Taoist tradition, this person should be from the Jirizhao Sangxao Niangyang lineage, but somehow she only learned many sinister secret methods to refine the demon head, and she had never used other skills. As for the Blood Sea ancestor of the mortal path, he was injured in his early years for some reason, and his strength could only rank third, so he turned to Buddhism and wanted to heal his injury, so his strength was relatively weak. Of course, the above are all rumors without any basis. After all, immortals will not widely announce what realm I am in or who I am stronger than or weaker than, so it may be inconsistent with the facts, and it is unknown. In addition to these three people, the second place is occupied by two immortals. One is King Ajatasattu of the Iron City Mountain of the Shira Path. Although the name is strange, he is indeed an immortal from the Western Church and one of the few living Buddhas in the world. The other is an old acquaintance of Wei Dongliu, a traitor of the Zhu family who was possessed by the soul of a mad dragon, and now the sect of the Donghuangdao. From the outside, there is no dragon feature at all, just an ordinary human cultivator. The immortals below are mostly in the realm of heavenly immortals and earthly immortals. Most of them are from the six paths and go out to establish their own sects after becoming immortals. Only 2 of them were from the vassal sects of the six paths, and both of them were at the level of earthly immortals. As for the immortals who were from the casual cultivation and had never joined a sect, there was not a single one. Wei Dongliu suddenly noticed that the patriarch Zizahir turned around and said a few words to someone behind him. Although it was a gathering of immortals, it would not be a problem to bring along disciples or juniors who were being promoted. For example, the patriarch Zhuhai brought Wei Dongliu himself. But wasn't the person behind that patriarch Zizahir Jianglin? Did she return to the heavenly demon path? Wait, with her original cultivation level of the Foundation establishment realm, whether she joined the heavenly demon path or betrayed Delta Kaimo and fled, it was probably impossible for the patriarch Zizahir to know about it. So, was it because after her cultivation level was raised, she was favored by the sect guarding immortal of the heavenly demon path? Just like the patriarch Zhuhai looked at me differently. Could it be that she had formed a 2nd grade or even a 1st grade golden elixir? In an instant, countless thoughts flashed through Wei Dongliu's mind, and he saw Jianglin raised his head, smiled charmingly at him, and then hid in a corner behind where no one would notice. Everyone. The Bloodsea Patriarch finally spoke slowly. I invited you all here this time, but I want to tell you why our 5 trios want to besiege Shushan this time. Bloodsea. Venerable Whitebone reminded calmly. Although he just called out the name and stopped abruptly, Wei Dongliu also guessed what the other party wanted to say. The 4 swords of Jirizhao are not comparable to ordinary 11th level immortal swords. Who cannot be greedy for them? If the immortals all know that they're looking for the Wonxai Bangju immortal sword, then the subsequent situation will be difficult to control. I know my limits. The Bloodsea Patriarch replied. Seeing that the Bloodsea Patriarch was quite confident, and the Free Patriarch was silent beside him, Venerable Whitebone could only withdraw his reminder, but he secretly felt something was wrong. Why did the Bloodsea reveal everything at this time? Could it be that he has discovered the clues of the Wonxai Bangju sword and wants to use the power of these immortals to fight Shushan for the last time? Venerable Baigyu was silent in thought, while the Bloodsea ancestor slowly calmed down and said, "This time, the 5 sects gathered at the outskirts of Shushan because we noticed the traces of the Wonxai Bangju sword. As soon as these work fell, it was like 1,000 waves start up, so that some of the immortals below are shocked and speechless, and some leaned forward and asked hurriedly, 'Ancestor, are you talking about the Wonxai Bangju sword required for the formation of the 4 swords of the Jirizhao and the Zhuxian sword formation?' 'Yes.' The Bloodsea ancestor nodded and said, 'This sword fell into the hands of Shushan?' An immortal asked in a deep voice. 'It is still unknown.' Venerable Whitebone said lightly, 'We're here to confirm its whereabouts.' 'Then it is possible.' So the immortals began to discuss eagerly, and another immortal asked, 'I heard that the Wonxai Bangju sword is 3 feet 6 inches and 2 points long, with a dark grey surface like black iron, and there are serrations on both sides of the sword. I wonder if it is true or not.' 'It is.' The Bloodsea Patriarch winked at Wei Dongliu, and the latter immediately understood and took out the Wonxai Bangju sword. Oh. The immortals looked over curiously, thinking that the Wonxai Bangju sword looks like this. Venerable Whitebone next to him was stunned for a moment, then slowly widened his eyes, revealing an extremely shocked expression. This expression made the Bloodsea Patriarch very satisfied. The slight unhappiness that was originally caused by embarrassment in front of Wei Dongliu also disappeared without a trace because he saw the same expression of his old friend. Unfortunately, the ancestor of freedom only opened his eyes and took a look, and then closed his eyes again to rest, which made the Bloodsea Patriarch a little disappointed. Soon, the immortals present noticed the strangeness of Venerable Whitebone. Everyone was not a fool. Although they did not react at first, they could not guess at this time that this Wonxai Bangju sword had been obtained by the mortal path of the Bloodsea ancestor. Dongliu. The Bloodsea ancestor said with satisfaction, "Tell the elders in detail how you got this sword." Wei Dongliu nodded slightly, and then told the excuses he had prepared long ago, saying that he was traveling near the plateau, and then suddenly heard the sound of sword chanting, and saw the Wonxai Bangju sword passing through the air, so he chased it and fought hard, and finally suppressed and subdued it completely. Venerable Whitebone was stunned beside him. "What do you mean?" "The Wonxai Bangju sword was unearthed in the southwest plateau, and you happened to be traveling nearby." "Who would travel on the plateau?" Even if you said that you found clues to the Wonxai Bangwuxian sword, it would be more credible if you ran there on purpose. He cast his eyes on King Ajatasatru of Shirodo, and saw that the latter was sighing and regretful at this time. That's right. The Wonxai Bangwuxian sword was unearthed on the plateau. Logically, it was most likely discovered by the Shirodo monks. But it was picked up by the mortal Dodo. It's natural that he would feel sorry. The white-bone venerable sneered in his heart and turned to look at the Free Patriarch. The Bloodsea Patriarch publicly disclosed the ownership of the Wonxai Bangwuxian sword. Unless other immortals really wanted to tear their faces apart, it was basically impossible to snatch it from the mortal Dodo. But if it comes to tearing their faces apart, with the harsh character of the Free Patriarch, it is not impossible for him to attack regardless of the consequences. The white-bone venerable waited for a moment, but saw that the Free Patriarch was always calm and silent, and he couldn't help but be disappointed. Chapter 609. Getting engaged suddenly. After the meeting, the three direct descendants of Jirizhao gathered privately. Looking at the expression of Venerable Baigyu, he was obviously a little dissatisfied, probably because the old ancestors Yuhai announced that the Wonxai Bangwuxian sword had been found, and he did not inform him in advance. As the saying goes, when it comes to making a decision, it is often not until the public meeting. In fact, in the past, before the high-level meetings of the Six Paths, before deciding on major strategic matters, Yuhai, Baigyu and Zizaya basically gathered separately. After the internal decision was made, the leaders were formally asked to attend the Six Paths meeting to discuss it seriously. Among the Six Paths, the Hell Path never participated in the meeting. As long as the three paths of Tianmo, Yingyi and Mortal Life reached a consensus, whether it was a comparison of strength and prestige or democratic voting, Dongwang and Shiro would not be able to object. It was also because of this that the old ancestors Yuhai skipped the meeting and announced the result directly, which made Venerable Baigyu feel angry that the rules were broken. What about the three giants who agreed to make decisions together? But the ancestor of freedom said nothing about this, which made him feel quite bad. Could these two people have formed an alliance behind the scenes without telling me? The ancestor of the Sea of Blood was also very surprised, because he had not actually communicated with the ancestor of freedom, and he had already prepared for the two people to attack him after the meeting. As a result, the ancestor of freedom was silent throughout the whole process, which made the ancestor of the Sea of Blood prepare for nothing, and for a while it was a bit unpredictable. The three immortals sat in silence, and Wei Dongliu stood behind the ancestor of the Sea of Blood, also bowed his head and said nothing. As a result, Jiangli secretly ran behind him and poked his waist with his finger. Wei Dongliu. Hey, three immortals are sitting there, what's the matter with you coming over to touch me? This is Wei Dongliu, right? The ancestor of freedom finally spoke. Yes, a dragon and phoenix among men. The venerable white bone frowned and felt a little strange. This ancestor of freedom has always been sinister and mean. When did he praise people? Wait, is this Wei Dongliu's background very complicated? The Bloodsea Patriarch narrowed his eyes slightly, and also felt that something was wrong. You, Master Zizaya, had never seen him before, so how did you know that he was a rare talent? Even if it was a compliment, when did you, Master Zizaya, ever compliment anyone? I have a direct disciple here, called Lian. Master Zizaya pointed his finger and said, he gets along quite well with Nevue. Why not let them become Taoist couples, which can be considered a perfect match? The Bloodsea Patriarch. Venerable White Bone. Wei Dongliu. That's it? Is this more important than the matter of the 10,000 aspects absolute immortal sword? The Bloodsea Patriarch quickly came to his senses and began to seriously think about Master Zizaya's proposal. Did Master Zizaya mean to deepen the alliance between the heavenly demon Dodo and the mortal Dodo? As long as the two juniors were married to each other, would they be willing to acquiesce that Wei Dongliu had the 10,000 aspects absolute immortal sword? Although even if the ancestor of freedom and the venerable white bone teamed up to attack each other, the ancestor of the Bloodsea was not afraid at all. But since the ancestor of freedom took the initiative to extend the olive branch, there was no need to refuse. Moreover, the ancestor of the Bloodsea looked at Jianglin, and saw that her cheeks were slightly red, like peach blossoms, her eyebrows were full of affection, and she was not only pretty and charming, but also obviously familiar with Wei Dongliu, and she also looked deeply in love with him. What's wrong with helping others? Thinking of this, the ancestor of the Bloodsea subconsciously, or was induced, agreed. Why not? Wei Dongliu was making a subtle gesture to Jianglin, telling her to restrain herself in front of so many immortals and not to come over so carelessly and heartlessly. Hearing the ancestor of freedom suddenly propose a marriage, the ancestor of the Blood Sea suddenly agreed, and was immediately struck by lightning. What? Another wife? Before he could react to what to do, Jiangling had already bowed down and said in a tender voice, "Thank you, Grandmaster. Thank you, Grandmaster." Wei Dongliu was stunned for a long time, knowing that he couldn't refuse in front of so many immortals, which would be like slapping the faces of Grandmasters Yu Hei and Grandmasters Izai in public. Besides, it was just a vest, so why not add a pendant? He also bowed implicitly. "Thank you, both of you." "Okay." Grandmasters Yu Hei laughed with relief, as if he was a grandfather who saw his children and grandchildren getting married. Grandmaster Izai also smiled, only Venerable Beggy looked unhappy, and he almost forced a smile, then exchanged a few polite words with the two immortals, and then said goodbye and left. As Venerable Beggy left first, the matter of Wei Dongliu holding the Wonxai Bangju immortal sword was settled in the 6 paths. Alas, the marriage was also settled, so annoying. Wei Dongliu looked at Jiangling in silence, thinking that this witch looked pretty good and had a decent figure, but the only problem was that she had become a different person, and her personality was unpredictable, which seemed like a bad variable. In addition, that broken mirror always hinted in a roundabout way that this witch already had the strength of an immortal. This was just fooling me. Which immortal would play house with a Jin and realm cultivator, try every means to get close to him, and insist on marrying him and becoming his Taoist partner? A marriage-crazy immortal, right? Jiangling was definitely not at the immortal realm, but he probably had some strength comparable to that of an immortal. For example, it was like me who had the Kunlun mirror. I was usually only at the Jinnan realm, but if I really encountered an irresistible strong enemy, I would let our Jin come out and use the illusion of mirror flowers and water moons to freeze the opponent, and then escape. This magic of flowers in the mirror moon in the water can freeze even a strong person like Ziwi's sect leader. It is not wrong to say that it is the strength of an immortal, so Jiangmonu must have obtained some secret treasure or comprehended some secret method. Wei Dongliu secretly calculated in his heart, and finally settled down and acquiesced to this matter. As for Jiangling, after the 3 giants gathered, he did not go back with the ancestor of freedom, but just stayed by Wei Dongliu's side, holding his arm and pulling him out to play. The old ancestor of the Blood Sea was also very tactful, so he winked at Wei Dongliu and told him to leave quickly. Wei Dongliu had no choice but to take Jiangmonu away. After a few days, the demon sect army outside Shushan quietly retreated. Not to mention what happened on the Shushan side, the demon sect side had a low winning rate, and it failed to break through Shushan in the end, so the atmosphere was relatively depressed. The Venerable White Bone even said that the sect leader should strengthen the training of his disciples and raise the assessment standards for the real people in the Golden Core realm, which immediately led to the tension of the entire sect. When Wei Dongliu returned to Mount Watai, he and the Blood Sea Patriarch learned a piece of news at the same time. Zurian, the head of Lingsu Mountain, had died. The specific reason for the death was unknown. Anyway, the head had been arranged to stay in Mount Watai, and suddenly went out one day, and then his whereabouts were unknown. As a result, the life lamp in the Gamqua Palace of Lingsu Mountain was extinguished. The so-called life lamp is when the cultivator communicates with the key, so that the life lamp will be always bright. If the cultivator suddenly days outside, or actively cuts off the key induction, the life lamp will go out immediately. As the head, Zurian naturally could not take the initiative to escape and betray the sect, so the probability of her death is very high. The Blood Sea Patriarch was not in a hurry, and directly let Wei Dongliu go over to completely subdue the Lingsu Mountain faction. There are only 3 Yuning elders in Lingsu Mountain. Go and talk to them. If anyone disagrees, just tell me my name. He said sternly, with Lingsu Mountain as a base, the other 2 mountains will not dare to disobey you in secret. After unifying these 3 mountains, the next step is to integrate the rest of the forces in Watai Mountain until the entire Watai Mountain can only make one voice. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 610. Sorting out the main line and mastering the sect. Chen Gyonzui now has 5 small accounts and 5 plot lines. The first is Kunling Qiu Cheng Tian, who is now practicing patiently in Kunlin, striving to break through the realm of cultivation as soon as possible. As long as he successfully forms a baby, he will basically be the next generation of the successor of the headmaster, and he can follow that he's an immortal for headmaster training. At the time, there will be a chance to steal the fragments of the sky-making stone. To be fair, Kunlun Tai King sect has not treated Qiu Changtian harshly, so Qiu Changtian must not wait until he becomes the headmaster before rebelling, otherwise it will be a great blow to Kunlun. The second is Shushan Ling Yunpo, who is also practicing patiently in Shushan, striving to improve his cultivation strength as soon as possible. Unlike Kunlun Qiu Changtian, who gets what he wants, Ling Yunpo is in an awkward situation in Shushan. On the one hand, he and his senior sister Nzisu have shown enough strength and potential for the sect to pay attention to. On the other hand, due to the ambiguous attitude of the Longmei Immortal, Shushan's treatment of the two is also unclear. Sometimes they treat them fairly, and sometimes they are stingy. After so many years in Shushan, Ling Yunpo had already confirmed that the reason why the Immortal Chanmei disliked them so much was essentially because he was dissatisfied with the 7 killings master Su Jian. It was because Su Jian's swordsmanship talent was too amazing that the Immortal Chanmei had high expectations for him. However, Su Jian later switched to the love stream. In order to keep his wife in the secular world and his cultivation stagnated, and because his daughter was ambushed, he had to stay in the King Luo Peak to keep his life. All of this disappointed the Immortal Chanmei, so that he was extremely disgusted with the love stream. If Su Jian was still outside at this time and was scolded or even beaten by the Immortal Chanmei, Ling Yunpo and Nzisu would naturally be fine. Unfortunately, Su Jian did not come out of the seclusion, so Ling Yunpo and Nzisu naturally became the targets of the Immortal Chanmei's venting of anger. To put it bluntly, everyone knows that venting anger on others is not good, but who can really do not easily vent anger on others? He announced that he had formed a 3rd-grade golden elixir just to keep a low profile. He would just muddle along in Shushan from now on. He would not want the top leaders to pay attention to him or take advantage of the opportunity to seize the heaven-repairing stone. The attitude of the Immortal Chanmei was clear. He should first try to survive. The third was Luoyan and Penglai, whose treatment was between Qiu Changtian and Ling Yunpo. The bad thing was that Elder Shiding was gone. Like King Luo Peak of Shushan, he was in a dilemma without elders, and Tiangong Workshop was also greatly affected. Fortunately, the head of Khuandu and the Immortal Wang Xiang were willing to take care of Luoyan because of Elder Shiding's past relationship, the necessity of the sect suppressing formation of Luoyan, the Immortal Jinun, and the clever design of the clever Shiluoli. As long as Luoyan can successfully form a baby, his treatment in Penglai will immediately improve, and he can even catch up with Qiu Changtian's status in Kunlun. Of course, he is currently between Qiu Changtian and Ling Yunpo, neither up nor down, and can only try to stabilize the situation and continue to operate the Tiangong Fang. Let's not talk about the Butian Stone for now. The fourth is Long Long in the Eastern Empire realm. The Butian Stone fragment is hanging on the little fox's neck. As long as she is sent to the Jielong clan in Beiming Fanyan, the blood conflict problem will be completely solved. The real trouble now is that the Kanglong clan will not allow the two to go to Beiming Fanyan. Since Emperor Yinglong never returned to the human world and the Jielong clan declined, some people like Shiro and others have given up their racial independence and taken shelter and integrated into the Kanglong clan. Although the other part still maintains independence, it is huddled in Beiming Fanyan, or is trapped in it and cannot come out. Therefore, Long Long also keenly saw that the Kanglong clan had completely different attitudes towards these two types of Jielong. For the dragons like Shio, it is natural that the dragons of the world are one family, we must unite, and let the dragons be great again. But for the dragons of Beiming Fanyan, the attitude is more vague, anyway, although it is not said clearly, it is definitely not a friendly attitude, otherwise they would not sit back and watch them trapped. Therefore, for Long Long and Longu, if they stay in the tribe, they are good dragons like Shio. If they show their intention to go to Beiming Fanyan, they are evil dragons. As for the fate of evil dragons, of course, there is no need to say more. In Dongzhou, they marry into the Qin family and are bred by Qin Yi. In Bizhou, they marry into the Gi family and are bred by Gi Linga. At the time, the name Long Long will be useless and can no longer be kept. Therefore, it is necessary to grow to the level of strength that can break through the obstruction of the Kanglong and Xuangui tribes and go to Beiming Fanyan alone. That is, cultivation is the main thing, and making trouble is the supplement, and a two-pronged approach. The last one is Wei Dongliu at the Mortal Do. If the other four lines are all about practicing and becoming stronger, Wei Dongliu has the task of dominating. First, unify the mortal path and take control of the 3 core sects. Then clear out Mount Watai and restore the mortal path to its peak strength. Finally, become the leader of the demon sect, the leader of the 6 paths, and compete with the 3 pure ones of the orthodox sect. In this way, you can successfully gain the trust of the Hell Path, and then seize the opportunity to seize the piece of the heaven-building stone. It's a shame to say that you have already reached the Golden Core Realm, and you have married several wives, but you haven't got a piece of the heaven-building stone. It seems that you can only work harder. Wei Dongliu received the order from the Bloodsea ancestor, and quickly went to the Lingxiu Mountain Sept station. Jiangli secretly recommended himself. He volunteered to accompany Wei Dongliu. When the two came to Lingxiu Mountain, they found that the atmosphere inside the sect was extremely bleak. Of course, the sudden disappearance of the headmaster and the death of the headmaster are almost certain. How can the disciples not be panicked and uneasy? Wei Dongliu called several Yuning elders from Lingxiu Mountain and prepared to have a frank talk, or rather, to convey the intentions of the Bloodsea Patriarch to them. Even if you look down on me, you should also think about the anger of the Bloodsea Patriarch. Can you bear it? Unexpectedly, these Yuning elders were very easy to talk to. Since it is the intention of the ancestor, we naturally dare not disobey. To be honest, the sudden death of sect leaders Yu has caused panic in the sect. Sect leader Wei is willing to come out to uphold justice and truly save Lingxiu Mountain from the water and fire. The Fanxing Duo has been in disarray for many years, and it is time for sect leader Wei to revive. These elders talked one after another, and soon praised Wei Dongliu's takeover of Lingxiu Mountain as what everyone expected and the general trend, and even Wei Dongliu himself felt a little uncomfortable. Jiangli smiled secretly beside him without saying a word. In that case, let's call all the Jin and Zenrun here first. Wei Dongliu began to give orders. I want to meet the Zenrun people of Lingxiu Mountain. If any troublemakers jump out later, I will deal with them to establish my authority. If not, I will call everyone here and then go find the other 2 sects of Fanxing Duo. Chapter 611 Wei Dongliu's Heavenly Demonic Magic. After conquering the Lingxiu Mountain sect, Wei Dongliu quickly sent people to inform the Yunxiu Mountain and Zhuyu Mountain sects that he would convene a sect meeting of the Immortal Duo. Soon, the head of Yunxiu Mountain, Li Zhi, and the head of Zhuyu Mountain, Zhao He, brought all the Yuning elders and Jin and Zenrun of the 2 sects to the meeting place. When these people arrived at the meeting place, they saw Wei Dongliu sitting calmly on a rough throne polished from stone, with one hand supporting his chin, and a sword placed horizontally on his knees. That was the Wangxai Bangzhuexian sword. Jiangli stood by and looked at this side with a smile. A few steps behind that 2 of them were several Yuning elders of the Lingxiu Mountain Sept and all the Jin and monks. Master Wei called us here, what's the matter? Li Zhi, who was hot-tempered, asked first with a bow. Although he bowed, his expression was extremely impatient, as if he didn't want to talk to Wei Dongliu at all. The old man Zhao He looked calm, just standing by the side without saying a word, waiting for Wei Dongliu to answer. Earlier, the Bloodsea ancestor said that he wanted me to take charge of the mortal path. Wei Dongliu kept his thinking posture on the throne and said leisurely, I wonder how that 2 masters are preparing? Have the sect monks' documents and martial arts books been sorted out? Humph. Li Zhi said nothing, just crossed his arms and sneered. Master Li, you seem to have an opinion about me. Wei Dongliu asked faintly. How dare I? Li Zhi said angrily, who dares to go against the Bloodsea ancestor? Don't want to live. Oh. Wei Dongliu remained calm. Then if the Bloodsea ancestor didn't say anything, would you be dissatisfied? Yunxiu Mountain is the result of the painstaking efforts of our ancestors from generation to generation, and it has become what it is today. Li Zhi said angrily, every disciple and every spiritual stone condenses the countless efforts of the Yunxiu Mountain monks from generation to generation. How can it be easily handed over to people of unknown origin? Good. Wei Dongliu clapped his hands and laughed. I still remember when I first came here, when the Bloodsea Patriarch first mentioned this matter. Zhu Ryan was friendly and enthusiastic, Li Zhi was cold and resistant, and Zhao He was silent. Later, after hearing the hint from the Jin Witch, Wei Dongliu realized that the head of the Zhu sect had actually colluded with the Elder Kai Moth to capture the Jin Witch as bait, trying to lure Wei Dongliu into a trap. It can only be said that you can know a person's face but not his heart. After returning to Mount Watai, Wei Dongliu almost opened champagne to celebrate when he heard that Zhu Ryan was likely to have fallen. Of course, there is no champagne in the world of cultivation. And in his opinion, Zhu Ryan may not have really fallen, and the so-called life lamp was extinguished just to escape. Lingxiu Mountain does not know what crime this person has committed, but Wei Dongliu knows it clearly. Compared with this hypocritical Zhu Ryan, a character like Li Zhi who is irritable and brainless is less like a person who is sweet-mouthed and treacherous. Of course, it may also be a spy from the hell. Let's not talk about this for now. Wei Dongliu turned his mind and looked at Zhao He, the head of the Fallen Moon sect. Master Zhao, what else do you have to say? Zhao He rested his cane on the ground and said calmly, since it is the order of the Bloodsea ancestor, everyone in the Fallen Moon sect will obey. Since it is the order of the immortal, that is to say, without the order of the immortal, the attitude of the Fallen Moon Mountain is similar to that of the Yunxiu Mountain. Wei Dongliu sneered a few times and said, okay, since Master Li is not convinced, I will make Master Li convinced first. In this demonic way, strength speaks, or does Master Li intend to refuse to admit it? As long as you can kill me, you can take Yunxiu Mountain. Li Li was really provoked and shouted angrily. Fellow Daoist Jiang. Wei Dongliu said indifferently, it is really dirty for me to deal with such a fool. You go and test his strength. Let me try it. Jiang Lin said with a smile, but who are you calling just now, fellow Daoist Jiang? Why don't I know this person? Wei Dongliu was suddenly embarrassed and said in a low voice, it's not that, we haven't officially become Taoist partners yet. Ah. Jiang Lin clapped his hands and said with pretended surprise and regret, that's not good. Fellow Daoist Wei is not married yet, doesn't that mean there is no wife willing to help him do the dirty work? There is no other way, I can only ask fellow Daoist Wei to do it himself. Wei Dongliu. My dear wife. He could only lower his voice and said with a stiff face, please help your husband test the strength of that man. Well. Jiang Lin immediately smiled sweetly as if she had eaten candy, okay, husband. Do you want me to beat him into pieces? Or half to death? Or 3/4 dead? Or just defeat him? Wei Dongliu pondered for a moment and said, if I can injure him, I can use the Wangxai Wuxian sword. But if I kill someone in the competition, I can't show my ability after all. I understand. Jiang Li smiled, then let him lose face. She came on stage, and Li sneered, why, Master Wei doesn't want to do it himself, but hides behind a woman? Before Wei Dongliu spoke, Jiang Lin had already smiled softly, Master Li, please be patient. My husband is the master of the Mortal Life Duo, but you are only the master of the Yunxiu Mountain Sept in the Mortal Life Duo. Naturally, there is no reason for you to challenge my husband right away. As long as you can pass this little girl, you can go and challenge my husband. Okay. Li was too lazy to talk nonsense and quickly activated his magic skills. A hurricane suddenly rose from the ground, mixed with countless cold air and snowflakes, and quickly cut towards Jiang Lin like a blade. The magic power of Yunxiu Mountain seemed to be just a snow and wind technique, but there was turbid air in the snow and wind. Whether it hit the body of a cultivator or a magic weapon flying sword, the fierce cold air mixed with turbid air would freeze immediately, causing the magic weapon flying sword to lose its spirituality due to freezing, and the cultivator's meridians to be blocked, and even blood and flesh necrosis, which was difficult to cure. However, Jiang Lin did not defend or dodge, but just raised one hand to her lips and blew gently at Li Li. The snow and wind in the sky were immediately rolled back with her light breath. The cultivators on the opposite side of Yunxiu Mountain were all shocked, but Wei Dongliu scanned it keenly and found that Jiang Lin used some extremely advanced illusion to influence or even indirectly control Li Li. The snow and wind were not blown away by Jiang Lin, but were controlled by Li Li to roll back. From the look of him, he didn't even realize that he was under an illusion. It was not until Li Li was hit hard by his wind and snow technique and his whole body was covered with thick frost that he came to his senses as if awakened from a dream. His whole rough face was frozen purple, his teeth were chattering, and he said in horror, what kind of evil technique is that? It's just a trifle, not worth mentioning. Jiang Lin narrowed his eyes slightly, and his voice suddenly turned cold. You can't even deal with such a trick, and you still want to provoke my husband. Where does Master Li get the face? You'd better go back and practice hard as soon as possible, so as not to continue to embarrass yourself. Chapter 612. Shocking the three sects and returning to the base. The strength displayed by Jiang Lin not only shocked the monks present in the Life Duo, but also made Wei Dongliu doubtful. He specifically asked Jiang Lin to take action. On the one hand, it was indeed to maintain the mysterious character, and Fission Yaksha was not with him, so he had to ask Jiang Lin to do it. On the other hand, it was also to test the strength of Jiang Monu, otherwise, it would not take much time to go back to the hinterland of Shipping Mountain. However, the strength displayed by Jiang Lin, illusion, an illusion that could make the Yunning Elder fall into it without any awareness. Humph, if it is only an immortal level illusion, it would be really good. Illusion is a relatively buggy existence in the world of cultivation. Even if ordinary cultivators are promoted to the Union realm, if they do not have the ability to deal with illusions, they cannot deal with it, no matter how high your realm is. But I have Arjun to help me, and I can be regarded as immune to illusions, so I am naturally not afraid of these tricks of Jiangling. Wei Dongliu was relieved. He saw Li Li suddenly defeated. As if he had suffered a great humiliation, he trembled and took out a few pills from his bottle. Then he bowed again to show his defeat and surrender, and then retreated in a hurry with his sleeves covering his face. You fought well. Under the shocked gaze of everyone, Wei Dongliu said lightly, Master Zhao, do you want to fight a few moves? Zhao, his face remained unchanged and said indifferently, Master Li was defeated so quickly. I don't think I am a match for your wife. From now on, the Fallen Moon sect will obey all the orders of Master Wei. As soon as the voice fell, the monks of the Fallen Moon Mountain showed an incredible look, and the monks of the Yunxiu Mountain next to them glared at them. Because Zhao his actions made it clear that he was actually asking Li Li to take a risk. If he won, Yunxiu Mountain would be in the front and attract all the hatred of Wei Dongliu. If they lose, Li Li will be humiliated. From the beginning to the end, the Fallen Moon Mountain just sat on the mountain and watched the tigers fight, without any responsibility to advance and retrieve together with the Cloud Snow Mountain. Wei Dongliu sneered again and said sarcastically, Master Zhao is aware of the current situation. Well, in this case, in 3 days, everyone will gather here and give an ultimatum to all forces in Watai Mountain for me. Either surrender, get out, or be destroyed. There will be no fourth choice. After saying that, he jumped into a grey light and flew away with the Wonxai Bangju immortal sword. Jiangli smiled darkly and turned into black mist and left. Only the silent monks of Lingxiu Mountain were left at the scene. After a moment of silence, they were immediately surrounded by monks from the other 2 sects, who asked them all, Is what Master Wei said true? Are you really going to crush all the forces around here? Is the Fanxing Duo going to occupy the entire Watai Mountain? Everyone asked in a chaotic manner, as if they were more concerned about whether the Fanxing Duo would become great again than the fact that their own sect was annexed. To be honest, although the Fanxing Duo is nominally a direct descendant of the Jiri Zhao, except for Lingxiu Mountain, Yunxiu Mountain and Zhuyu sect, the rest are foreign forces that have nothing to do with the Jiri Zhao, so their status among the 6 paths is almost the same as that of a concubine. What's more annoying is that these 3 core sects do not have the strength to integrate all the foreign factions, so they can only use the banner of the Blood Sea Patriarch to collect protection fees in various ways, making their reputation not only very bad in Watai Mountain, but also looked down upon by the Heavenly Demon and the In-Ghost sect, which is really aggrieved. If the great Headmaster Wei can really unify Mount Watai and make the Mortal Life Path a powerful and overbearing sect like the Heavenly Demon Path and the Ghost Path, then it would be fine if he became the head of the Mortal Life Path. Although when that time comes, it will be useless for everyone to oppose. After a while of arguing, the Yunning elders of Lingxiu Mountain finally stood up and appeased everyone, saying, We also learned about it for the first time, but we didn't know about it before. But since the Headmaster Wei said so, let's just wait and see. When Wei Dongliu returned to the hinterland of Shipping Mountain, he still checked the cultivation realm of Yuojin and Banjun as soon as possible. Originally, his purpose of accepting disciples was to let the 2 disciples make connections so as to investigate the whereabouts of the Hell Path. Now that the Hell Path has been connected, Wei Dongliu was required to become the co-master of the 6 paths, so the role of these 2 disciples has also changed to form the elixir as soon as possible, recruit disciples widely and strengthen the Wanfei Tongshuan sect. After all, Lingxiu Mountain is only the direct line of the Mortal Duo, and only the Wanfei Tongshuan sect is the direct line of Wei Dongliu. As a result, after checking, it was found that Yuojin had 70 years of Watu cultivation, and Wanjun also had 40 years of Watu cultivation. This is only about 10 years of practice. Where did you get the Purple Palace secret medicine? To answer the master's words, Yuojin said honestly, a few days ago, my junior sister and I went out for training. We passed by a valley and were attacked by a strange snake monster. I was bitten by the monster and poisoned, and my junior sister was also splashed with poisonous blood. We killed the monster snake. I took its gall and swallowed it, and my junior sister took its blood and drank it. The toxin was eliminated, and each of us gained decades of Watu cultivation. Wei Dongliu, is this okay? When I was preparing for the dam formation, I used up all the intelligence resources of Cunning, Shushan, and Penglai, and even read through 18,000 volumes of the Daoist canon, traveled to various famous mountains and rivers, and used great wisdom, perseverance, and determination to scan every corner of the place I passed by, and only then did I get enough Purple Mansion secret medicine. You two end out to kill a demon snake, and you gain decades of what you cultivation? What kind of luck is this? Seeing the doubtful expression of the master, Jun hurriedly added. Later, we searched around the corpse of the demon snake and found that the demon snake was guarding a strange grass by the pond. Master Jing said that the strange grass is called 7-coloring flower, and the wheel has 7 color petals, each of which has 10 years of what you cultivation. 7-coloring flower, Wei Dongliu has also heard of it. It is said that this strange grass is rare in the ages. There must be a great sage buried below, so there is a chance to grow it. The chance is so small that it is almost impossible to plant it artificially, and it can only be encountered by chance. This brother and sister are a bit lucky. Wait, could it be the first-generation version of Mishi, the type with particularly deep fortune? Wei Dongliu pulled Jianglin aside and whispered, "My dear wife, you have been with these 2 apprentices for longer than me, let me ask you. Are their luck particularly good?" "No." Jianglin was puzzled, and it took him a long time to come back to his senses, and said with a smile, "Does my husband also believe in the favor of heaven? The way of heaven is clear, how can I not believe it?" Wei Dongliu sighed. With the example of Mishi in front, it is not impossible to say that Guo Jin is also favored by heaven. What's more, isn't this guy named as a protagonist? Jianglin blinked, thinking that this husband actually believes in heaven. Could it be that he has met someone favored by heaven? Very good, write it down. One day, I have to dig out all the secrets of this husband. After careful consideration, Wei Dongliu now has both a beautiful demon girl who actively pays for him and a loyal Yaksha brother. Next, he will go to dominate Mount Watai. It feels a bit like the rhythm of an urban novel. Chapter 613. The Immortal Sword Formation. Watai shows off its might. The scenic Mount Watai is now full of demonic flames. The 3 sects of Lingxiu Mountain, Yongxiu Mountain, and Yuzhou Mountain have not only united, which is rare, but also strongly demanded that all the sects in the Watai Mountains either surrender or leave. Such an overbearing and unreasonable request naturally caused a large number of sects to resist. Master Wei. Soon Jin and Shenran came to report, the Bagua sect is resisting stubbornly and refuses to surrender. Wei Dongliu frowned. What, they dare to resist? What kind of noble family is this Bagua sect? So Jin and Shenran quickly explained to Master Wei. This so-called Bagua sect is also a side sect that joined the Fanxing Duo from outside, that is, the so-called foreign faction. Logically speaking, since they borrowed the Watai Mountain site, they need to pay protection fees to the 3 sects of the Fanxing Duo on a regular basis. To be precise, it is the site rental fee. But the Bagua sect was proficient in calculation and investigation, so they refused to pay the fees. Every time the 3 sects of Fanxing Duo sent people to collect the fees, they quickly packed up their resources in advance and ran away, leaving the empty sect station to Fanxing Duo. The site rental fee itself was not high, and it was not worth it for the owning elders to personally capture the Bagua sect to recover it, but this kind of behavior of taking advantage was really disgusting. Wei Dongliu listened silently, then sneered and said, "These people who fear power but do not cherish virtue are just right to be used as a sacrifice." He stretched out his hand and pointed, and the Wongxai Bangjuexian sword flew over the Bagua sect station, and then a large piece of grey fog fell, covering the area for several miles tightly. Small Juexian sword formation. Whether it is the Wongxai Bangjuexian sword, the Tianmo Zhuxian sword, the Zhuhehuixian Jian sword, or the Jian Luxian sword, the sealing Taoism on the sword is performed through a small sword formation. If the 4 swords are gathered together, 4 different small sword formations, plus the sword formation diagram in the middle, can be combined into a sword formation with supreme power. Of course, this thing must be presided over by an immortal. Otherwise, if the rank is not high enough, it will be easily broken by someone from the outside world, just like Lei Kain last time. At this time, the people of Bagua sect were unaware of the impending disaster and were still arguing in the main hall. Why do we calculate at all? There are death places everywhere. Because Fanxing Duo has already said that he wants to wipe out the entire Watai Mountain, where will there be a place for us to stay? The solution now is to leave Watai Mountain. Watai Mountain has the most spiritual energy. If we leave here, where can we accommodate our Bagua sect? I'm afraid it will be completely declined in a few generations. The dozen or so Bagua sect monks who were arguing were clearly divided into 2 factions. One faction insisted on fighting a guerrilla war and continued to play hide-and-seek with Fanxing Duo in Watai Mountain. After all, the cultivation resources here are really hard to give up. The other faction was an out-and-out escape faction, calling on everyone to flee quickly, as there was no place for the Bagua sect in Mount Watai. While they were still arguing, a large patch of grey fog suddenly spread in from outside. The head of the Bagua sect reacted the fastest, quickly offering up the 9 palaces Bagua mirror, chanting, Kiam, Du, Li, Xin, Zun, Kun, General, Hun, Yin and Yang are reversed, bless my disciples. The 9 palaces Bagua mirror is also a rare treasure, which can pry the 5 elements with the Bagua method, thereby restraining most of the attacks in the world. However, the Wonxai Bangju Immortal Sword is a rare, attributeless immortal sword that does not enter the 5 elements, and is not restrained by the 9 palaces Bagua mirror at all. When the light of the Bagua mirror passed, the great fog seemed to be enraged, and quickly flowed from both sides, surrounding the Bagua sect monks in the center. Then a large amount of sword energy, mixed in the fog, shot out. Several Jindan monks on the periphery were caught off guard and were hit by the sword energy on the spot, as if they were chopped by a knife or an axe. Their bodies were broken in an instant, and blood flowed all over the ground. The tragic deaths of these fellow disciples bought time for the monks in the middle. Everyone hurriedly took out their magic flying swords and tried to resist. The disciples of the Foundation building realm couldn't even withstand a sword energy. The monks of the Jindan realm could withstand 3 or 4 attacks, and then their magic flying swords were barely broken. Hey, this Wonxai Bangju Jian seems to be a bit strong. Wei Dongliu outside was a little surprised. Could this be the power of the 11th level Immortal Sword? As we all know, the 11th level Immortal Sword is actually a synonym for those more famous and super powerful 10th level Immortal Swords, and the Immortal Swords owned by Wei Dongliu's various trumpets are more niche. The performance of the Kingping Sword is like the 10th level Immortal Sword, and there is no Taoist method that can kill everyone in seconds. The Tianyuan Yeki Sword can only be used to chop people, and there is not even any Taoist method on it. The Wangtime Kun sword refused to recognize its master. Although it had a profound forbidden method, it could not be used. It could only use some simple earth-based Taoist methods to deal with it. The Wangi Shi Jing sword could be used, but it was a special attack on souls, demons and other intangible enemies, so it was not cool enough to fight. Only the Wonxai Bangju sword, once the sword formation fell, corpses were everywhere. It can be said that it was simple, rough and powerful. In a few breaths, all the Bagua sect monks fell to the ground, and only the headmaster was left standing on the field. Suddenly becoming a lonely man, the headmaster ordered and activated the Jiugang Bagua mirror, surrounded himself with light, and resisted the sword energy attacks around him, as if he was preparing to use a big move. Then, the fluctuation of space transmission appeared. This guy actually pretended to fight to the death to use a big move, but secretly activated the Wanlei Xing talisman, and used the 36 stratagems to run away. Before his figure disappeared in the light, he suddenly froze. The next second, the sword energy in the sword formation completely tore the body of the Bagua sect headmaster. Wei Dongliu secretly breathed a sigh of relief. If he let the other party escape in his sword formation, the personality of the mysterious boss would collapse. However, at the last moment, the other party was strangely fixed. Was it an illusion? So he was hit by my heavenly demon method. Wei Dongliu quietly turned his head to look at Jianglin, who showed a charming smile and put her little hand into his palm. Wei Dongliu knew that it was his wife who was doing the meritorious service, so he didn't rush to get rid of her. He let her hold his hand for the sake of what happened just now. There is no way. It's not that I covet beauty, but as a husband, I should be clear about rewards and punishments. After a while, the sword formation was withdrawn, and the grey mist dissipated. Several Jindans in Rome of the Mortal landed in the dilapidated Baguraman station, went deep into the main hall to investigate for a while, and found that all the enemies had been killed, even the headmaster of the Yuning realm was no exception. That's the Yuning realm. From the beginning to the end, Master Wei only used the Wonxai Bangju sword to activate it and set up a sword formation. He didn't even have a face-to-face encounter with the Bagua sect. This Wonxai Bangju sword? No, this Master Wei's strength is so terrifying. Several Jindans returned to the formation and reported the situation to Wei Dongliu. Wei Dongliu's face did not change, but the people around him showed horror, looking at him as if he were a god, with respect and fear. Chapter 614 Today, the destruction of the Bagua sect did not stop the unification of Mount Watai by the life-oriented sect. With such a terrible example, there was an endless stream of small and medium-sized sects that came to surrender, reaching thousands in a single day. Moreover, these side sects were not only willing to worship Wei Dongliu as the leader of the life-oriented sect and wait for his orders, but also offered all the names of the sect's monks and the manuals of the techniques, without daring to hide anything. The life-oriented sect, which originally seemed bloated and huge, but was actually a mess, was now being quickly consolidated by Wei Dongliu and firmly controlled in his hands. However, more problems were gradually coming to the surface. Now there are still 7 sects left in the side sects of Mount Watai that have not been dealt with. Jiangli smiled secretly and said, "In my opinion, there is no need for my husband to take action. Just send a few Yuning elders and take the Jin and monks to surrender." "Well," Wei Dongliu said in a deep voice, "the real problem now is the Buddhist sect." Jiangli said in a dark voice. Due to the chaotic management in the past, Mount Watai has not only seen a lot of unorthodox ways over the past thousands of years, but also a large number of Buddhist sects that have settled here. According to a rough estimate, there are no less than 50 of them. What's more troublesome is that although the Fanxingdo is eclectic, it is still a Taoist sect after all, and it is impossible to swallow up the heterogeneous Buddhist sects. In fact, when these more than 50 Buddhist temples settled in Mount Watai, they neither registered with the Fanxingdo nor paid any protection fees. It is said that because of their strong strength and many of them have attained the Tao, the 3 sects are also quite afraid of these Buddhist temples, and it is difficult to deal with them, so they can only leave them alone. If Wei Dongliu were to comment, the reason why the Fanxingdo is so weak now is certainly partly due to historical malpractices, but the main reason is that the Blood Sea ancestor has not done anything. In order to heal the original injury, this sect Immortal even turned to Buddhism. How dare the people below provoke Buddhism? What if the Blood Sea ancestor is unhappy? This is the same reason why Ling Yunpo is not welcomed in Shushan. In essence, it is because of the personal likes and dislikes of the immortals, which affect the position and attitude of the entire sect. "I will go to find that Blood Sea patriarch." Wei Dongliu stood up and said, "I will go with my husband." Jiangling hugged his arm intimately, and whispered to him with a smile, "By the way, when will our Taoist couple ceremony be held?" The ancestor Zizia has urged several times. Wei Dongliu suddenly shuddered. "Oops, Yuan Yang is not safe. My dear wife." He touched Jiangling's little hand and said slowly, "It's okay to be a Taoist couple, but the cultivation method of my husband is special, and I need to preserve Yuan Yang. I hope my dear wife can understand." "My husband." Jiangling also imitated his tone and said gently, "It's okay to be a Taoist couple, but after marriage, I want to have a child as soon as possible, and I hope my husband can understand." "Child? This is not urgent?" Wei Dongliu asked in surprise. "What's not urgent?" Jiangli hinted that he should repeat it. "No hurry." Wei Dongliu was stuck, then sighed and said, "Why are you in such a hurry to have a child? After all, you and I are both cultivators, with long lifespans, and there is no need to reproduce as soon as possible." Jiangli smiled secretly without saying anything, but his expression was very persistent, without the slightest wavering. The lifespan of cultivators is indeed long, but they are not immortals, and there is a limit to their lifespans. Moreover, there are unexpected events in the world, and it is difficult to guarantee peace year after year. The demons are immortal and their lifespans are endless, which is fundamentally different from cultivators. Having a child earlier is also a worry that there will be variables in the future. Besides, there is a big difference between attacking with a baby and attacking without a baby. Seeing that she refused to listen to his advice, Wei Dongliu couldn't help but feel a little weak, and could only pass the topic casually, but he was secretly alert in his heart. "It's bitter. Why is this Jiangwitch so aggressive now? If it really doesn't work, if she insists on pushing me hard, can I only follow the example of the charcoal man and run away in advance? That's right. Why not let our Jing pretend to be me and cast an illusion on witch Jing on the wedding night, so that she will mistakenly think that she has had sex with me? Wouldn't it be wonderful?" "What a bad idea." Kumlin Jing shouted in shame and anger, "If you don't want to do it, just tell her directly. What's the point of your calculations? I'm just worried that she won't listen to my advice." Wei Dongliu defended. "If she doesn't listen to my advice, you'll torment me, right?" Kumlin Jing said viciously, "I warn you, Cheng Yuanzu, if you have any ideas about me again, I will freeze you when she pushes you hard, so that you can't break free and let her manipulate you into 18 kinds of appearances. If you do this, I won't mend the sky." Wei Dongliu also took out his trump card and said angrily, "If you don't mend the sky, I will freeze you and let you be oppressed by the witch all day long. There'll always be a time when you will give in." Kumlin Jing retorted. They quarreled with each other like this and finally reached the top of Thongtai Peak. I saw that the Blood Sea Patriarch was still practicing the Deadwood Zen, sitting blankly under a huge rock, half of his body almost turned into a snowman. "I already know why you came." Before Wei Dongliu opened his mouth, he said in a hoarse voice, "I once obtained the secret Buddhist method in Puji Temple, and I owe you something, so you can't touch this temple, but you can move to other Buddhist temples." Puji Temple. Wei Dongliu's thoughts turned slightly, and he remembered that it was the temple where the demon Buddha Yushin sat and passed away in the past. Okay. He nodded in agreement. "I'm here to see you, old ancestor," Jiangli said with a dark smile. "The ancestor sent me to ask, when can I and fellow Taoist Wei become Taoist couples?" Upon hearing this, the Blood-Sea ancestor opened his eyes, looked at her, then looked at Wei Dongliu, and finally smiled and said, "If you are so impatient, it's okay to get married today." "I'm not the one who's impatient," Wei Dongliu complained in his heart, and then heard Jiangli secretly say with joy, "Thank you, old ancestor." Since neither of them had parents or relatives, the Blood-Sea ancestor and the Free ancestor acted as elders. After announcing to heaven and earth, the two officially became Taoist couples. It was already late. In Shipping Mountain, Wei Dongliu went back to his room to rest, and saw his newlywed wife quickly following him in. "My husband, let me help you undress," Jiangli advised softly. "No need." Wei Dongliu hastily refused. "I won't sleep tonight, I'll just meditate." "Good times are short, why should you be so reserved, my husband?" Jiang Moenvi covered her mouth and laughed, then she slowly took off her silk clothes, revealing her jade arms and half of her shoulders. Wei Dongliu's face twitched, and after a while he said, "My wife, my practice requires the maintenance of Yuan Yang, I'm not kidding you. Once the Yuan Yang is broken, it will be a great obstacle to my cultivation. My wife doesn't want your cultivation to stagnate, right?" Jiangling was slightly startled when she heard the words, and suddenly her beautiful eyes were filled with tears, like pear blossoms in the rain. She said resentfully, "Why do you say that, my husband? Does my husband hate me so much that he avoids me like the snakes and scorpions?" "I didn't avoid me like the snakes and scorpions." Wei Dongliu had just tried to defend himself weakly when Jiang Moenvi, who pounced on him, blocked his mouth and rolled into a ball. Chapter 615. Attack Fei Yuan Temple first. In the final analysis, retaining Yuan Yang is conducive to cultivation, which is certainly a factor. But what Wei Dongliu is not willing to admit is that he does have a certain moral cleanliness, but it is only in terms of treating his partner. He does not want Jiang Moenvi to think that the man she entrusted her body to is Wei Dongliu. Although it is very strange to say, Wei Dongliu was already the one who has become a Taoist partner, so why can't Wei Dongliu be the one to entrust her body? Of course, it is because the former is just a cultural ritual, while the latter is a permanent mark on the body. In short, he is very principled in this regard and will never waver. Jiang Moenvi naturally couldn't understand it, so she tried her best. However, if she used force, Wei Dongliu's body could not withstand her tossing. If she used dirty tricks, the illusion could not break through his chaotic mind of the demon lord. In desperation, Jiangling finally realized that he could not break through the city gate, and he could only occupy every inch of the corner around the city wall to sway his sovereignty. Wei Dongliu didn't know whether her sovereignty was occupied by himself or his sovereignty was occupied by her. From the perspective of secular cognition, it was the former, but looking at the appearance of Jiang Moenvi, it seemed like the latter, and he really couldn't figure it out. In short, Jiangling got what she wanted, and Wei Dongliu didn't lose his important things, which meant that both of them won. In short, a win-win situation. The next day, the young couple left the sect's residence again, preparing to preside over the final stage of the unification of Mount Watai. Before leaving, Wei Dongliu called Yuo Jin and Wang Jun and told them, "Master and Master's wife, we have to do important things outside next, so you stay in the sect. Of course, if you want to go out for training, you can, just remember to be careful, and don't forget to activate the shielding formation at the door before going out." At this point, Wei Dongliu took out another flying sword, which was a 10th level Earth-type flying sword presented by a sect that had surrendered to Fanshandao before, called Qianlong. "This Qianlong sword was given to me by someone else." Wei Dongliu handed the Qianlong sword to Guo Jin. "Take it for self-defense." "Thank you, Master." Guo Jin kowtowed respectfully. "Little Yuna, have you carefully refined the magic that Master's wife gave you a few days ago?" Jiangling called Wang Jun over and hugged her in his arms. Wang Jun nodded with a red face, and his eyes were full of admiration when he looked at Master's wife. This made Wei Dongliu frown a little, because Wang Jun's favorability towards this Master's wife seemed to be better than his own master. In the past, he would have been afraid of her, but now that Jiangling was his little wife, he felt that this was not bad. "Okay, Master's wife will teach you another secret technique." After the sword and method were passed on, The two left Shipping Mountain and flew towards Thongtai Peak. Husband. Jiangli asked in a low voice, what do you think of these two disciples? Guojin is dull and docile, but he is blessed. Anjun is alert and worried, but he may go too far. Wei Dongliu replied. Jiangli said in surprise, I thought my husband had no intention of running the sect, but I didn't expect that he knew the temperaments of the two disciples so well. What are you talking about, my dear wife? Wei Dongliu said dissatisfiedly, if he had no intention of running the sect, why would I have worked so hard to establish this Wanfei Tongshuan sect? Jiangli laughed in silence, thinking to himself. I recommended this station to you, and I also took you to find that two disciples. I also did the regular training and teaching. I even prepared the spiritual medicine resources for their cultivation. What exactly do you actually do as the headmaster? You were present when the sect was established, and you commanded when they went out to experience. Is there nothing else? Yes. She hugged Wei Dongliu's arm and said coquettishly, it's all thanks to my husband. Wei Dongliu instinctively felt that she was being sarcastic, but he couldn't produce any evidence, so he could only snort a few times and stop talking about it. After the two arrived at Thongtai Peak, they summoned the three sects of the Fanshindo, gathered all the monks, and then headed towards the nearby Buddhist temple. Feiyuan Temple, with a population of about 50, is probably the population limit of a small sect in the Buddhist sect. A few more would be considered medium-sized. As we all know, Taoist practice has the requirement of entering the world. For example, when the foundation building realm is transformed into a mansion, it is required to go out to search for the secret medicine of the purple mansion, otherwise the foundation of Taoism cannot be stable. In contrast, the Buddhist practice style is more escapist. When encountering a problem, you just sit in meditation and think hard. There is no problem that can't be solved by thinking hard. If there is, it means that your mind is not calm. If you can't solve it even if your mind is calm, it means that you don't have wisdom. Therefore, to judge whether a Buddhist sect is powerful or not, one only needs to see whether the sect has close ties with the secular world. If it is a Buddhist temple built in a remote area with very few people, the monks inside are basically very powerful, but Feiyuan Temple is not like this. It not only often sends monks out to beg for alms, but also accepts pilgrims to worship and raise funds. It is a Buddhist temple that is not very active in practicing. To a certain extent, Wei Dongliu chose to attack Feiyuan Temple first, and he also wanted to fight a beautiful first battle. When everyone arrived at Feiyuan Temple, they saw a group of monks surrounding an old monk, and they filed out of the temple as if they had been prepared. Amitabha. The old monk put his palms together and said indifferently, Fanshin Dao wants to occupy Mount Watai this time, and has committed endless sins and karma. Why don't you stop before it's too late, Mr. Wei? Otherwise, the karma will bite you back and you will regret it too late. Wei Dongliu took a closer look and found that it was the famous monk in Buddhism, Yuan, the wandering monk. It is said that Buddhism requires retreat from the world to practice, but this old monk Yuan does the opposite. He likes to travel around the world. Every time he travels for dozens or hundreds of years, he will retreat from the world, find a secluded place to summarize his feelings, and concentrate on meditation. When he appears again, his cultivation level is one level higher, belonging to the non-mainstream sudden enlightenment school of Buddhism. Buddhism uses relics to counter Taoist golden elixir, and 7 treasures relics to uniting fetal immortals. This old monk Yuan has already formed 7 treasures relics, so he is considered a uniting realm cultivator. In addition, he has been traveling around the world for many years, so his fighting ability must be strong, otherwise he would have been killed long ago. But Wei Dongliu relied on the heavenly demonic Dharma in his hands, and was not afraid of the reputation of this wandering monk. He just sneered and said, it's okay not to commit murder. Please ask the Feiyuan Temple to withdraw from Mount Watai, and I, the Fanshindo, will naturally not hunt you down. Why bother? The old monk Yuan sighed and said in a low voice, Mount Watai is so big that it can accommodate 2 sects. Mr. Wei should also know the principle of a single yan cannot last long. The more powerful the Fanshindo is now, the more serious the hidden dangers will be in the future. Wei Dongliu naturally knew that what the old monk said was true. Although the Fanshindo is acting so domineeringly now, its momentum has been created to the fullest, but it has also attracted a lot of hatred. If the Fanshindo declines in the future, it will inevitably be pushed down by everyone. Just look at how powerful the Tongshuan sect was thousands of years ago, which once ruled the Mortal Dao. The sect even included more than 60% of the entire Mortal Dao's skills. But it was destroyed in one day, and Daoism disappeared. If you really want to manage the sect carefully, in fact, it is the right way to stay like Cumlin. But Wei Donliu didn't really want the mortal duo to continue to be great. He just wanted to become the leader of the demon sect and then get the fragments of the skybarding stone. Therefore, he acted stubborn and said sternly, "There is no point in saying more. If the wandering monk wants to protect this Fei Yuan temple, please ask me if the sword in my palm agrees." Chapter 616. Reunification of Mount Watai. As soon as Wei Donliu said this, both sides knew that there was really no way to end it peacefully without a fight. Yuan took out his magic weapon first, which was a golden translucent bowl. He threw it into the air, then turned around and fell, covering the monks inside. There is no doubt that this was to prevent Wei Donliu's big move. After all, the small Zhuepsen sword formation of the Wangxibang Zhuepsen sword was too powerful, and it had already killed many sects in Mount Watai and caused rivers of blood. If the fight was not over yet and the monks behind him were killed first, could Yuan still be able to uphold justice for the Fei Yuan temple that was destroyed? Wei Dongliu sneered, and then he threw the Wangxibang Zhuepsen sword and the Wangyi Jing sword at the same time, and killed the bowl in two directions. The wandering monk Yuan looked cautious, and threw out a string of black prayer beads, heading straight for the Wangxibang Zhuepsen sword. Wei Dongliu only scanned it and immediately knew that it was a sinking ironwood bead. This thing has no other functions, it is just big, heavy, and hard, and it is difficult for ordinary flying swords to split it. If it were to get caught up in it, the sword would immediately become heavier, and it wouldn't even be able to fly. Wei Dongliu's expression remained unchanged, and he quickly pulled away the Wangxibang Zhuepsen sword. After all, the opponent was in the nascent soul realm, and he would definitely not be his opponent in a head-on confrontation. He continued to pinch the sword formula with his left hand, asking the Wangyi Jing sword to attack the bowl, and with a turn of the Duo formula in his right hand, he activated the Xiao Zhuepsen sword formation, covering Yuan and the bowl. Yuan secretly groaned in his heart. This Wei Zhao didn't seem to have a high level of cultivation, but his tactical awareness was very good, and his moves were extremely ruthless. Every move was aimed at the bowl, and it was clear that he wanted him to be cautious. Since he was entrusted by the monks of Fei Yuan Temple, he couldn't let them get hurt. Now that the Zhuepsen sword formation has fallen, if he wants to stop it, it would be best to directly defeat Wei Donliu's body. But if he fails to take down the opponent, and the bowl is broken by the Zhuepsen sword formation, the monks inside will suffer heavy casualties, it will still not work. So Yuan simply sat down cross-legged and began to use the golden bowl magic weapon with all his strength. It was unknown what grade this magic weapon was, but there were 7 treasures shining on it, and it actually withstood the attack of the Zhuepsen sword formation. The golden light curtain was shaky under the sword energy, and it recovered in the blink of an eye, but it was still unbroken. Wei Dongliu frowned slightly, and then waved his sleeves, and 3 golden lights rushed out from it. It was the notorious 100 poisonous golden silkworm Gu. During this period, Wei Dongliu used the Wangxibang Zhuepsen sword to fight with others. The 3 vicious insects didn't come out often, and they had been suffocated for a long time. Now that they were finally free, they bit their big claws and rushed to the golden light curtain of the bowl. The bowl light curtain was not indestructible, but it recovered very quickly. Bullying Wei Donliu's own true essence was not enough, and he couldn't generate too much sword energy in the sword formation at one time to break the bowl's defensive light curtain in one breath. However, the 100 poisonous golden silkworm Gu did not need the support of true energy. It just gnawed and bit hundreds of times in a few breaths, biting through the light curtain, rushing into it, and killing the wandering monk Yuan. Seeing that the 3 golden insects were so fierce, and hearing the sound of chewing, Yuan could not help guessing the reputation of the 100 poisonous golden silkworm Gu, and hurriedly threw the water-sinking ironwood beads in his hand. The rosary turned in the air, and the 3 fierce insects scattered like lightning. One of them was hit before it could dodge, rolled on the ground for a few times, and then staggered and flew up, continuing to kill in the direction of Yuan. The old monk Yuan was caught off guard and hurriedly tried to activate the magic weapon again, but was knocked into his arms by one of the fierce insects, biting through his heart veins. He screamed and could no longer maintain the bowl magic weapon. So the sword formation outside, layer by layer of sword energy, all rushed in, and in an instant, the monks were smashed into pieces. There was only one 7 treasure relic, but it housed the soul of the wandering monk Yuan, which passed through the sword formation like lightning and went to the west. Wei Dongliu's cultivation level was not high enough after all, and the Zhuepsen sword formation was powerful but not tight, so Yuan's soul escaped accidentally. Seeing that there was no way to remedy the situation, he laughed several times with a meaningful expression, as if he had deliberately let Yuan escape. The monks of the Fanshindu behind him looked at each other, thinking, did the sect leader deliberately let the wandering monk go so that he could tip off the Buddhist sect? Yes, I think it was intentional, and he would attract more Buddhist masters to catch them all in one fell swoop and eliminate the trouble forever. Leisurely, the former head of Yunxiu Mountain and now the elder of Fanshindu, quietly approached Zhao He and whispered, "This head is only of the Jindan realm, but how can his strength be so abnormal? The wandering monk Yuan, who has formed the Seven Treasures relic, is not even a match for him. It's not a problem of realm." Zhao He said indifferently, "It's that his sword is too sharp." Li Li nodded in agreement. When a Jindan cultivator fights against a Yuan cultivator, whether it is true essence or magic weapon, it should be crushed. However, Wei Dongliu, with the Jindan realm, controls the magic weapons such as the Wangxai Wuxi and Jian, but can defeat the Yuan cultivator in turn. This does not mean that Wei Dongliu is very strong, but only that the Wangxai Wuxi and Jian is too abnormal, which can allow Jindan cultivators to cross levels and kill. This wandering monk Yuan prepared a bull magic weapon specifically to make the Wangxai Wuxi and Jian unable to break through. He probably thought it was foolproof, but he didn't expect Wei Dongliu to actually possess such a vicious thing as the 100 Poisons Gold and Silkworm Gu, so he was forcibly crushed and killed again. The next enemy may be able to make arrangements for the 100 Poisons Gold and Silkworm Gu, but who knows if Wei Dongliu's trump card is only these two? The two looked at each other in silence for a moment, thinking that the various methods of this Wei Zhongzhu were really unfathomable and could not be measured by ordinary Jindan cultivators. Not to mention, there was also that Bloodsea ancestor standing behind him. Could this person be the illegitimate son of the Bloodsea ancestor? If so, why can he be in charge of the Wangxai Wuxi and Jian and possess the 100 Poisons Gold and Silkworm Gu? It can all be explained. Fanshindu fought against the Buddhist forces of Mount Watai, and completely destroyed Feiyuan Temple in the first battle. More than 50 monks and the wandering monk Yuan were unable to escape, which really increased the magic flames over Mount Watai by several feet. Next, it was unstoppable. Except for the Puji temple that the Bloodsea Patriarch specifically asked to protect, one temple after another was quickly taken down, some fled with the entire temple, and some were covered in blood. Puji temple couldn't sit still. After all, although Wei Dongliu didn't take action against him, he kept killing chickens to scare monkeys in the surrounding areas, so that the abbot of Puji temple discussed with the elders for a long time and finally decided to run away in advance. When Wei Dongliu received the news, he found that Puji temple had long been deserted, and all the property had been packed up and would never be left to the people at the demonic path. Bloodsea Patriarch, I didn't do it like them, they misunderstood my meaning. In any case, even a big temple like Puji temple ran away, so the matter of the unification of Mount Watai by the mortal path was finally a foregone conclusion under the promotion of Wei Mojin. The next step is to become the co-lord of the Six Paths. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 617. Kyo and others must fight. On this day, Mount Watai finally fell completely. Some sects succumbed to the tyranny of the mortal Dodo, and were forced or brainwashed to join it, becoming the burning firewood of the demon sect. Some sects died in the heroic resistance, and their bodies were destroyed into dust by magic. The Taoist traditions of their elders fell into the mud and were ruthlessly crushed. There were also some sects that endured humiliation and groveled to escape, leaving the sects where their ancestors had fought for generations, wandering in all directions, and bringing this extremely terrifying news to the world. As one of the three demons of the Jiri Jiao, the mortal Do has returned with the power of the devil. When the news reached Cunning, the head of Ziwi's sect pondered for a long time, and finally called Qiu Changtai and Zhu Yinglyan to the front of the seat to ask their opinions on the changes in Mount Watai. Qiu Changtai had just read the game from Wei Dongliu. The reason was not because Witch Jing was too clean, but because he had committed too many murders, so he planned to return to Kunlun to play the role of a moral gentleman again and calm down. However, as soon as he came back from the game, he was called by the head of Ziwi to talk and asked what he thought of the heinous crimes committed by the demon Lord Wei. Qiu Changtai wanted to complain and said that he didn't want to watch it at all. Based on the information, it's clear that Demon Lord Wei is a shrewd and scheming man. Zhu Yinglyan analyzed seriously. He first asked the many sects in Mount Watai to surrender, and expelled them if they refused. It's obvious that he adopted a strategy of avoiding violence as much as possible to avoid bringing himself too much bad reputation. This style of work can be said to be very different from that of other sects in the demon cult. For example, the expansion of the Ingido towards Bayman mounting, and it has always left no survivors or room for negotiation with other sects in my opinion. This way Don Leo must have far-reaching ambitions, and it is not limited to the mortal world. Otherwise, it is impossible to explain his cautious behavior to avoid self-pollution. Qiu Changtian was stunned when he heard this. I was just lazy and didn't want to kill anyone, but how come sisters you said it became an act of fear of rumors and protecting one's reputation? There is one more thing. Zhu Yingyang continued, this person possesses the gold and silkworm gear of 100 poisons. If it were an ordinary demon sect cultivator, most of them would use this to make a name for themselves, but this person has never had any reputation before. For example, this person also controls the Wangxai Bangzhu Immortal Sword, and the Fanxing Duo is under his control, but he has never publicized it. From this, it can be seen that Wei Don Liu is not interested in fame and fortune, or he desires it more, so he can hide his own methods. Yes. Ziwi's sect master sighed and said, this person is deed-minded, often acts in a reserved manner, and no one knows his background. The Fanxing Duo Blood Sea Patriarch strongly supports him, and then he married that Qian Mo Duo and obtained the full support of the Free Patriarch. His momentum is already there, and it cannot be easily eliminated. Alas. Qiu Changtian also sighed in a pretentious manner, this person is afraid that he will become a major threat to our orthodox sect. Then he saw that Ziwi's sect master and Zhu Yingyang were staring at him in surprise. Qiu Changtian, Changjiang. Ziwi's sect master said slowly, now we have to compete with Wei Dongliu. Among the new talents of the righteous path, you are the leader. How can I be so virtuous as a disciple? Qiu Changtian immediately said with shame, I am still in the Golden Core Realm, my cultivation is low, and I dare not represent cunning. What's wrong with the Golden Core Realm? Ziwi's sect master shook his head and said, how many of your senior brothers, sisters, and uncles are first-grade Golden Cores? Qiu Changtian was immediately stuck. Oh, that's it. After all, I'm a first-grade Golden Core. Although my cultivation level has not yet risen, my potential is really perfect. If I form a nascent soul in the future, I'm afraid I can compete with the immortals. It's just that it's easy to improve my cultivation, but my prestige needs to be accumulated slowly. After all, there is no internet in this world, and many cultivators are extremely close to information, so Kunlun plans to use the Wei Dongliu incident to push me to the front in advance to build momentum. After I form my nascent soul, I will be able to smoothly take over the position of the headmaster with the title of the world's #1 nascent soul. By then, Kunlun's prestige in the world of cultivation will also rise to a higher level. This approach is very similar to the Zhu family in Tianan, and it is a long-term investment. I understand. Qiu Changtian said seriously, since the master has ordered me to do so, I should also be determined to make progress and live up to the trust of the sect. Very good. Ziwi headmaster praised, your current realm is still too low, so it's just right for you to continue to train in the 13th level of Shangjuan and the 3000 firehouses with your junior sister. Strive to achieve perfection in the mind as soon as possible, and start looking for the opportunity to break through to the next realm. Yes. Qiu Changtian agreed respectfully. Zhu Yingyang was also overwhelmed, and felt that he was able to form a Taoist partner with such a heroic figure as his senior brother, which was really worth his life. I also have to work hard to cultivate Taoism, and I can't embarrass my senior brother. Qiu Changtian didn't know what junior sister Zhu was thinking. He just left Yuxu Palace with a heavy heart, thinking that now he really had to face himself. What should he do next? Qiu Changtian has an invincible character and cannot lose. If he loses, this character will completely collapse. Wei Dongliu has a mysterious character and must win. If he can't win, what else can he imagine? What the hell should he do next? After thinking about it, he can only don't let the king meet the king and try to avoid letting Qiu Changtian and Wei Dongliu face off directly. Then Qiu Changtian will mow down the demon sect in various ways, and Wei Dongliu will massacre the orthodox sect in various ways. Both sides will cooperate and drag it out until they form their own entrance. Oh, it's so annoying. Brother. Seeing Qiu Changtian's worried look, Zhu Yingyang comforted him. No matter how cruel Wei Dongliu is, can he be compared with the first-grade Jindan? With time, your cultivation level will definitely surpass Wei Dongliu. That's right. Qiu Chang's Hian forced a smile. However, since Wei Dongliu holds the Wangxai Bang Wexin sword and raises the Bear Du Jing Kangyu, I think he is not easy to deal with. Although I am not afraid of him, seeing such a person in the demon sect, I'm also worried about my colleagues in the orthodox sect. Indeed. Zhu Yingyuan had to admit that although Qiu Chang's Hian's Tianyuan Yeki sword was the sword of the ancient witch clan, it did not have a clear advantage over the notorious Wangxai Bang Wexin sword. As for the Bear Du Jing Kangyu, although my brother took some high-level magic weapons suitable for Jindan cultivators from the Fenbahu rock, he certainly could not prevent those ancient vicious insects. But my brother is Qiu Chang's Hian. Even if he is behind in terms of equipment, he will definitely not lose to Wei Dongliu, so why should I worry about him? Qiu Chang's Hian was getting irritated when he saw the reminder from Kunlun Mirror that the character synchronization value had increased. He couldn't help but feel a little amused and helpless towards his junior sister. Forget it, I don't want to think about it anymore, I'll go play Fox. Jin, read the game Lunglong. Chapter 618. Dragon and Turtle Dual Cultivation, Beaming Divine Art. It was summer, and the sun in Dagwan Wilderness was getting stronger. Most of the young dragons that had not yet transformed stayed in the streams on the island or in the seawater near the coast. Long Long and the little fox took a break from their busy schedule and stayed on the beach to bask in the sun. The dragon fox lay comfortably on his legs, and her big tail swung back and forth between his neck, teasing his skin. Long Long tried to grab her tail, but the tail was too flexible and smooth, and it always slipped out of his hands, and then he gave him a big slap that didn't hurt. Long Long was so angry that he wanted to transform into a ruthless giant python, but the little fox found out in advance and ran away with a sweet smile. Jianmu in the East China Sea, and even the vicinity of Dongzhou, is probably the most peaceful place in the East Empire realm at present. Due to the sudden death of Emperor Kalin, his illegitimate son Qi has recently ascended to the throne at the speed of light and ascended the throne to become the new Lord of 10,000 Monsters and the Emperor of the Monster Clan. At the same time, Qi, the Prince of Kalin and Bizhou, has also published a fierce manifesto, claiming that Qi is not the biological son of the previous Emperor Qi. The entry point of this manifesto is very clever. After all, everyone only knew that Qi had 2 sons and 1 daughter. Where did Qi come from? There has never been a legitimate eldest son alive in this world, but your illegitimate son is established. There is obviously something strange. Of course, for those who were well informed, Qi 2 sons and 1 daughter are not his own, so supporting Qi must be the intention of the Kalin ancestor, and Qi remarks are simply untenable. However, this matter involves a royal scandal. Unless the Kalin clan intends to abandon the covenant with the White Tiger clan, it is impossible to admit this matter to the outside world at the cost of falling out with Lu Ye. Therefore, the Kalin clan only refuted the accusations of Prince Qi, claiming that it was grasping at the wind and shadow and nonsense. Qi is indeed the son of the previous emperor, and the ancestor has personally verified it without a doubt. As for why they chose to establish an illegitimate son instead of the eldest son, they kept silent about it. In the eyes of some people who did not know the truth, it was undoubtedly the best proof that the Kalin clan was guilty. In short, Bizhou and Thongzhou were shouting and cursing fiercely, and the original alliance between Kalin and Quchuan had disappeared. The war situation was almost on the verge of breaking out. At this time, the Quchuan ancestor sent Qilinga here. I don't know what he was thinking. What's wrong? Qilinga came to Long Long and sat down with her legs folded. You don't seem to want to see me? No. Long Long shook his head and said meaningfully, if you are trying to promote the realliance between the Dragon Clan and Quchuan, it's useless to find me. I don't care about the diplomatic relations between the 2 clans. Qilinga shook her head and said, what do you think about the last proposal of dual cultivation? Dual cultivation? Long Long then remembered that Qilinga had obtained a new Quchuan technique. Quchuan was a combination of turtle and snake in the early years, and the technique was also practiced by the 2 clans. Now that the Black Tortoise clan is the only one left in the Black Tortoise clan, to reproduce this ancient technique, one must naturally find a Dragon clan member who knows the ins and outs of it to practice with. Okay. Long Long nodded and agreed. Did you bring the technique with you? Yes. Qilinga patted the storage bag on her waist. Shall we find a secluded place? Okay. As soon as Long Long finished speaking, the little fox hit him hard on the back. Where are you going? What are you doing? The fox stared at Qilinga coldly. The Black Tortoise Beaming Divine Art we talked about last time requires the Dragon Clan and the Black Tortoise Clan to practice together. Gilinga smiled and said, "Fox, let me borrow your brother Long for a while." Oh. When the fox heard that it was a practice, he first breathed a sigh of relief, then his ears perked up again, and he said alertly, "Of course, I can, but I want to go with you." After she finished speaking, she stared at Long Long to signal, and Long Long quickly said, "Okay, this practice process needs someone to protect the law." "I don't care," Gilinga said casually. Seeing her frank expression, Long Hu was somewhat relieved. The three of them returned to the vicinity of Jianmu and found a secluded secret room inside a tree. Long Long sat cross-legged on the ground, posing with his 5 hearts facing the sky. Gilinga half squatted down and sat in his arms. "Wait!" Long Hu hurriedly pulled the little turtle up and shouted in shame, "What are you doing?" "Practice." Gilinga took out the jade slip of the technique and showed it to her. Sure enough, the first move of the Chuan would be miming divine art practiced by the turtle, and the snake is turtle inside and snake outside. To put it simply, the black turtle is sitting in the arms of the dragon clan, surrounded by the dragon clan from the outside, and then practicing breathing exercises at the same time. What kind of obscene exercise is this? Long Hu directly threw the jade slip to the ground, gritting his teeth, his face flushed, and tears were about to fall. "I don't allow you to practice this disgusting exercise." Gilinga was a little annoyed, feeling that this fox was too annoying, but seeing her extremely embarrassed expression, she couldn't help but soften her heart, and said, "Fox, this is not some obscene exercise, this is how the turtle and snake clans practiced together in the past. Some physical contact is inevitable. How about this?" Long Long also comforted him. "After all, we're male and female, this is too intimate. How about practicing with the real body?" "Real body?" Gilinga thought, "I can try it." So the little turtle lay down on the ground, and turned into an exquisite and lovely green turtle with delicate and beautiful patterns on the edge of its shell. Long Long also transformed into a dragon, wrapping the green turtle around its shell. Long gritted her teeth and stared at them, but she found that the dragon turtle looked very serious in its body training, not at all shy. She breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that it was just training. Was she too excited just now? The two of them practiced the skills for several cycles, and Long Long only felt a pure water-based spiritual power slowly seeping in from the edge of the turtle shell along the gaps between the scales. The blue dragon belongs to wood, while the dragon belongs to water. This water-based spiritual power from the black turtle bloodliner is not as fierce and overbearing as the water-based spiritual power from the dragon bloodliner, but it is more majestic and heavy. After the spiritual power circulated along the meridians in the body for a while, Long Long could feel that his body seemed to be getting stronger, and the dragon scales were also thickening and hardening. Not only did Long Long quickly benefit from it, but Gilinga also obtained the spiritual power of the dragon bloodliner from Long Long, making her body stronger and more agile and powerful. It's just that Long Long's spiritual power was too overbearing, running wildly through her meridians almost uncontrollably, making the little turtle feel uneasy, as if she was being roughly ravaged, and a strange, inexplicable pleasure. Chapter 619. Enlightening Dragon and Fox. Talking in a secret room. Dragon Fox sat boredly beside her, her fluffy tail wagging constantly. In front of her, the dragon tightly coiled around the black tortoise, as if an anaconda was strangling its prey, but in fact, they were practicing the same breathing method. The air around her gradually became humid. It was obvious that the level of this mental method was so high that it could even affect the surrounding environment. Logically speaking, since Long Long could learn such a high-level mental method, Dragon Fox should also congratulate him. But the little fox was very unhappy, and she felt sad for no reason, as if she had lost something. She didn't want to stay here, so she left the secret room and wandered aimlessly outside until she met Billy. Tu Shanjin of the Kinkyu Sky Fox clan, Dragon Fox's aunt, was said to be very proficient in space-based magic. It was easy for her to eat in Kinkyu Mountain in the West Province in the morning and stay in Jianmu Island in the East Province in the evening. Seeing that her aunt had come to the Dragon Clan at some point, Dragon Fox was not surprised at all, but just walked forward with a depressed face. "What's wrong, little fox?" Billy's aunt hugged her and rubbed her head. "Why are you unhappy? Can aunt see it?" Long Hu looked up in surprise. "Your little emotions are all written on your face." Billy pinched her nose affectionately. Thinking back to when she was little, her sister also liked to pinch her nose like this. Now it's her turn to take care of her sister's daughter. Billy's thoughts were flying around, and she only heard Long Hu say aggrievedly, "Aunt, I think I'm so weird." "Weird?" So Long Hu started to talk about it. This matter is not complicated. It's nothing more than seeing Long Long and Gilinga practicing together, which made Long Hu feel anxious and uneasy about being excluded. This anxiety came so suddenly that Long Hu herself couldn't understand it. First of all, this technique is designed for the dual cultivation of the dragon clan and the black turtle. Secondly, they are both water-based monsters, so it is normal to have strange phenomena when practicing together. But Long Hu is just unhappy, and she doesn't even know why she is unhappy. Silly child, this is possessiveness. Elixir wondered what this was, and then explained earnestly, for our Sky Fox clan, this is a very normal phenomenon. Possessiveness. Long Hu is puzzled. When you really fall in love with someone, Li explained with a smile, you will want everything from him. Don't even mention that he is practicing dual cultivation with others. Even if he says a word to another female, you will feel unhappy. This is the so-called possessiveness. So, Long Hu asked, not quite understanding, I have every reason to be unhappy, because after all, I like Long Long so much. That's right. Li laughed and continued to teach her, and it's all his fault, because he didn't give you enough sense of security. Yeah. Long Hu accepted this statement without resistance, but although this is the fact, if I complain to Long Long, he will definitely not understand, but will think I'm being unreasonable. When Li heard this, he knew that Long Hu had completely grasped the essence of Tianhu's logic, and laughed. Yes, so you must know when to do things. First of all, you must dare to express your unhappiness, don't feel guilty. As I said before, it's not that you're being unreasonable, but that he should give you enough sense of security, but he didn't. Secondly, expressing unhappiness is not the same as venting emotions, because men will only feel bored by this. You need to show your unhappiness appropriately, but not let him feel it's deliberate. Casual expression is the best way. Finally, when he finds out about your little emotion and tries to make up for it, you can take the opportunity to pull it in the opposite direction. Xiao was so smart, he must understand what I mean. Pull it in the opposite direction. Long Hu said thoughtfully, secretly keeping his aunt's words in mind. After saying goodbye to Long Hu and leaving, Li walked quickly down the Jianmu passage and finally arrived at another quiet room. What exactly is going on in Thongzhou? Li asked sternly into the room. Don't tell me that your actions in Thongzhou have involved Xiao and Longlong. It was just an accident. Xiao walked out slowly from the depths. The first two assassinations, including the plans against Longlong and Qiuan, were all arranged in advance by the White Tiger clan. I know the first two assassinations had nothing to do with you. Li ruffled her hair irritably, but the assassination of Qiqiaosan, which almost implicated Longlong and Longhu, don't tell me it wasn't your plan. Xiao was silent for a long time, then slowly spoke. If Qiqiaosan died there, the alliance between Beyu and Kalin would inevitably not be able to continue. Bizhao Xuan will become the biggest winner, and in order to avoid this, Kalin and Kanglong will most likely unite. By then, as long as your Qingqia clan makes an effort and persuades the White Tiger clan, there is a high probability that you will be able to achieve a perfect horizontal alliance to fight against the Xuan clan. It's a pity that Longlong saw through it, wasn't it? Li sneered. Even if you didn't inform him in advance, he found the optimal solution almost instantly. This is also a headache for us. Xiao frowned and said, in our opinion, if the all-out war cannot be nipped in the bud, there is a high probability that Kanglong will choose Bizhao in the end. Although Patriarch Kanglong looks rough, he is actually overly cautious, especially in major decisions in the past. Considering the unfriendly relationship between Nanzhao and Thongzhou, Patriarch Kanglong can judge that Nanzhao will stand on the side of Bizhao, allowing the Black Turtle camp to gain the upper hand. And his risk-averse nature will most likely prompt him to choose Bizhao, so that the alliance between Thongzhou and Shizhao will undoubtedly fail. And such a war situation will allow the Xuan clan in Bizhao to reap the greatest fruits of victory. At this point, Xiao's voice was rarely cold. This is a result we cannot accept. The Xuan clan looks at Longlong differently. Li said coldly, after all, you still don't regard him as one of your own. You're wrong. Xiao shook her head indifferently. The Xuan ancestors' choice of Longlong does not mean choosing Jialong, they actually want to choose Kanglong. If Longlong can practice the Xuan beaming magic skill with Gilinga, they can lay a deeper foundation for the alliance between the Black Turtle and the Dragon clan. This is exactly the Xuan ancestor's usual trick. Don't forget, he did the same to the Kaling clan back then. It's just finding a new turtle shell. Li was speechless this time and remained silent for a long time. The Kanglong and the Black Turtle are both our enemies. Xiao concluded, both for you White Tigers and for us Jialongs. Of course, I didn't accuse Longlong of doing anything wrong. because he didn't know the above information, and based on his position at the time, once the little Kulin prince died there, it would not only be harmful to the Kanglong clan, but also bring great trouble to him and Longhu. You should trust us a little more. Li finally sighed, and his expression eased a little. We're your allies. Long Long and Xiao are also the descendants of your clan. If it weren't for the lack of communication, things wouldn't have developed like this. Sorry. Xiao said faintly, as the survivors of Jialong, trust is a very luxurious thing for us. Chapter 620. Fox Turtle Fight. For the tribe visits. After practicing for an unknown period of time, Long Long finally came back to his senses from his meditation. This Chuan beaming divine art was indeed ingenious, and it could actually form a perfect yin-yang cycle between the Dragon Clan and the Black Turtle, complementing each other. The Dragon Clan's bloodline tends to be Yang Rin Shui, and after being obtained by Chuan, it can increase the Chuan clan's true essence. The Chuan bloodline tends to be recessive Shui, and after being obtained by the dragon, it can increase the abundance of the Dragon Clan's true essence. This basic refining technique alone can allow the Dragon Clan and the Black Turtle to gain cultivation from each other. If there are more powerful combined attack techniques later, doesn't it mean that I'd better be with Gilinga? Wait, don't be confused, Long Long. Did you come to the East Empire realm to become the No. 1 demon of the East Empire? Wrong. Absolutely wrong. The purpose of your coming to the East Empire realm is to find that fragment of the Butian stone. Whatever you cultivate is just a cloud. After finding the fragment of the Butian stone, Long Long's identity will be useless. You still have to go back to the cultivation world to be a human being. Don't really think of yourself as a dragon. Long Long repeatedly held his breath and concentrated, organizing his thoughts, and finally freed himself from the instinctive impulse of becoming stronger. Looking at the dragon fox at the door again, he saw the little fox sitting there sadly, and his big tail no longer wagging, just drooping beside him in frustration. Fox, what's wrong with you? Long Long's heart tightened, and he asked hurriedly. Gilinga had just turned around from the afterglow of the dual cultivation, and was about to say something to Long Long with a smile, but he saw him rushing towards the dragon fox in a hurry, and his heart tightened immediately, but the words on his lips became, "Ah? What's wrong with the dragon fox?" "It's okay." The dragon fox smiled reluctantly. Although he said that he was fine, his face was full of "I'm unhappy." Long Long was such a smart person that he guessed the little fox's thoughts almost exactly. He turned around and said to Gilinga with a smile, "The cultivation is over. At present, it seems that this method is indeed suitable for the dual cultivation of the Dragon Clan and the Black Turtle. I have done what I promised you. I should tell the ancestor Chuan about it as soon as possible." Gilinga widened her eyes slightly, thinking, "You are kicking me out right after the dual cultivation? What a joke." She was about to leave, but was provoked by Long Long. The Turtle Clan's unique young temper came up, and she laughed dryly and said, "No hurry, no hurry. This is just a technique of eating wind and drinking dew, breathing and refining ki. There are also joint attack techniques to practice later. It's okay." The dragon fox launched a counterattack from the side and said gently, "Long Long, if you can practice this dual cultivation method, it will also improve your strength." Seeing that she was obviously unwilling in her heart, but still compromised for his sake, Long Long was immediately moved. In addition, he needed to play the role of his persistent character, so he immediately shook his head and said, "The joint attack technique requires 2 people to be present at the same time to use it. What's the benefit to me? If there is a joint attack technique of the Dragon Clan and the Fox, I am willing to spend time practicing it. Gilinga, I only promised you before that I could help you try this beaming divine art, but I didn't promise to practice it with you to a high level. Now it seems that forget about the follow-up." When Longhu heard the first half of his sentence, dual cultivation of dragons and foxes, he felt as sweet as eating honey, while when Gilinga heard the second half of his sentence, forget it, her face immediately felt as bitter as if she had chewed copped ice. She wanted to ask, "How can I not be better than this fox?" However, after thinking carefully, this dragon fox was sometimes soft and sometimes coquettish, and her feminine charm was indeed far better than hers. In addition, she and Long had known each other for a long time and had a deep relationship, which was extraordinary. If she really asked that stupid question, she would definitely be humiliating herself. Thinking of this, Gilinga changed her words and said with a smile, "In this case, it doesn't matter. However, the Chuan patriarch asked me to do something here, so I'm not in a hurry to go back and report." "What is it?" Longhu blurted out subconsciously, and then suddenly regretted it. "I won't tell you." Gilinga laughed. So Long Hu knew that his little thoughts were seen through by the other party, and he began to sulk again. The confrontation between the two was so intense that Long Long only noticed something was wrong, but he didn't think much about it. He smiled and said, "I've been practicing for so long, I'm a little hungry, I'll go eat some fish." He left the quiet room, and the fox and the little turtle looked at each other for a moment, and hurried to follow. There was a natural platform shaded by trees near the crown of Jianmu, from which you can see the boundless East China Sea in the distance, so it was set up as an open-air restaurant. Although it is a restaurant, the transformed demon cultivators can eat wind and drink dew, without the worry of hunger. They come here to enjoy blood food either out of appetite or for interpersonal communication. When Long Long came here, he saw that there was no one around, only the cook was busy at the stove in the distance, and the waiter was cleaning the tables and chairs on the ground. They were all sub-dragon demons whose bloodline rank was not enough and could not transform, and they relied on being slaves to the Kanglong clan to make a living. To some extent, the class solidification of the demon clan is much more serious than that of the human race. Although the human race also emphasizes the talent of cultivation, this thing is not related to blood after all. Unlike the demon race's dragon gives birth to dragon, phoenix gives birth to phoenix. After sitting down, Long Long ordered a grilled crispet fish and handed over the menu. Long took the menu, but he couldn't pull it out. Looking carefully, he found that the other corner was pinched by Gilinga. "Fox, I'm older than you, can you give me the order first?" Gilinga said with a smile. Long frowned and thought, if I give you the order first, doesn't it mean that Long Long will hand you the menu first? It seems that you have a closer relationship with Long Long. Sister Wang, referring to Sister Wang BA, I'm hungry, please give me the order first. She said in a whimpering voice, and there was even a fox illusion in her voice. Gilinga was hit by the illusion and almost agreed subconsciously, but the Black Turtle clan generally practiced the secret method of calming the mind to resist illusions. Her head shook slightly, and soon returned to normal, smiling. You can eat the fish ordered by Long Long first. Long was not willing to agree, and quietly exerted force with his hands, but Gilinga was a turtle after all, and she was the kind of person who would never let go of something once it had beaten it. She held the menu tightly, and Long was so anxious that he was sweating and couldn't help but whimpering. Long Long didn't know why the two of them could even fight over the menu, so he quickly went to the next table to get the menu, handed it to Long and said, "Don't fight, look at this." Long took the menu, and his expression immediately became as if he was in spring breeze, and he looked at Gilinga proudly. The little turtle got the menu, but his expression was as if he had eaten a big turtle, so he could only keep his head down and scratch it with his fingers, and ordered a shrimp and egg soup. Long happily ordered a roast chicken and began to urge the waiter to serve the dishes. The three were waiting for the food when they suddenly saw a large shadow floating across the floor. Long looked up carefully, his eyes passing through the layers of leaves of Jianmu, and saw that the people flying over Jianmu in groups were the Feather Tribe. Chapter 621 The Debt Collector is here. The sudden visit of the Feather Clan of Nanzhao really caught the Kanglong clan by surprise. Because in the eyes of the high-level Dragon clan, the most likely official visitor is the Chuan clan. After all, they have to fight 1 against 2, and fight against the Cunning clan and the White Tiger clan at the same time, which is definitely beyond their ability. If the North State Chuan can successfully win over the East State Kanglong and the South State Thunao, they can form the so-called vertical situation and eat up the Central State from 3 directions. At the time, the West State White Tiger will be alone and can only surrender. If the Kanglong clan cannot be persuaded, then although the Chuan and Thunao alliance will fight against the joint camp of Kulin and White Tiger. But if the East State Kanglong surrenders to the Central State Kulin, and the West State White Tiger is added, it will form the so-called horizontal situation, and the Chuan and Thunao will be separated from the North and the South, and can only fight on their own, which is almost certain to fail. Therefore, when Gilinga visited, the high-level Dragon clan also told Long to take good care of the little turtle. Apart from the Chuan clan, the next most likely visitors are naturally the Kulin or the White Tiger. The reason is the same as above. Winning over the Dragon clan is an important part of winning, but after all, Long and his people have been assassinated and plotted against in Thongzhou, so if the Kulins really want to seek an alliance, they must at least pay some price. Of course, the least likely to visit is the Nanzhao Feather clan. After all, the friendship between the two is not deep, and the Vermilion Bird is far less concerned about the victory or defeat of this war than the Kulin, Chuan and White Tiger. But the current situation is that the vermilion bird is the first to visit, so the dragon clan also hurriedly arranged for reception, fearing that it would be impolite and be ridiculed. The Nanzhao feather clan is used to wearing gorgeous clothes, and they like bright colors. It is said that each feather clan has its own unique dyeing seasoning formula, and they will deliberately separate the color difference from each other. If you accidentally adjust the color of the clothes of the nobles, you will be punished by the feather clan with the cruel feather plucking punishment. The feather tribe members sitting in the reception room now have two obvious colors of clothes. The blazing red ones are the vermilion birds, and the brilliant golden ones are the golden crows. Long Long and Gilinga were led into the hall by several servants. As soon as they entered the hall, two eyes fell on him. The one sitting at the head of the guest seat was a young and beautiful woman with long hair, red clothes and narrow eyes. She was chatting with the tribe leader Qin Biawang and said with a smile, "Is this the Long Long who found the ancient ruins information in the Shenlong Island?" As expected, he has a noble bloodline and an extraordinary appearance. Yes. Qin Biawang called Long Long, "Come and pay your respects to His Highness Fenyan." "You don't have to pay your respects." The vermilion bird highness raised his hand lightly, "But I have a guard who was a little dissatisfied when he heard me praise you a few words in the past, and wanted to compete with you." Long Long. "I dare not." He quickly refused and saluted, saying, "It was just luck that we were on Shenlong Island in the past, Jinyan." The prince ignored his refusal and said leisurely. Where she was sitting, the young Feather Clan cultivator in a golden robe immediately stood up and said with a bow, "Feather Clan Jinyan, I would like to learn from you." The clan leader Qin Biawang looked a little surprised, as if he wanted to say something, but the Prince Fenyan immediately said, "It's just a competition. Besides, I heard that Long Long had escorted the person's daughter on his own before he transformed, and traveled a long distance from Nanzhao to Dongzhou. I wonder if it's true. With such strength, I think he can definitely teach my ignorant guard a lesson." Before the demon clan transformed, they did not have the basic rights of cultivators, and even if they were beaten and killed, they had no reason to complain. Being able to cross two states without a transformed body is indeed something worth bragging about. But Qin Biawang could vaguely sense that this feather clan prince was testing something, and since there was really no need to refuse, he turned his eyes to Long Long. Long Long had no choice but to lead the Golden Crow monk away from Jian Mu, and he secretly pondered in his heart. It is likely that I am Long opened the teleportation formation with the Golden Crow True Fire Fan in the Yuan Cave of the Three-Legged Mountain Range, and the Golden Crow clan on the ground noticed it. No, maybe they have even gone underground and found the teleportation arch left behind. It's just that without the Golden Crow True Fire Fan, they certainly can't activate the formation, but when they found that Long and I disappeared in the cave for no reason, they must suspect us. Considering that the other end of the formation is the secret realm of the Fuzan Shenmu clan that the Golden Crow clan has been thinking about, when Long Long thought of this, he was already certain that the Feather clan came here for this matter. Otherwise, why did you not bring so many Feather clans with you, the Vermilion Bird clan, but brought the monks of the Golden Crow clan? What's the meaning? Arriving at the Daguan wilderness outside, Long Long looked at the impatient Golden Crow monk and sneered in his heart. "Please teach me." The Golden Crow monk said stiffly, and immediately transformed into the Golden Crow's true body, flapping his wings and soaring into the sky. Long Long did not waste time talking to him, and also revealed his true dragon body and soared into the sky. As soon as he rose to a higher altitude, he saw the Golden Crow flapping its wings quickly, and a large number of spherical flames shot at him like a barrage of bullets. The Golden Crow's bloodline belongs to the 5 elements being fire, and he is very good at manipulating fire spells. It is well known that among the 5 elements, the golden fire elements are the most lethal, and Zhengjin and Binu are the strongest. Therefore, this large-scale indiscriminate attack of the Golden Crow's fire is a very sharp killing move for most monsters who lack combat experience. But how can Long Long be an ordinary monster? When he practiced with Sisters Yu every day, he had long been accustomed to how to deal with the Great Light Fire. In addition, this Golden Crow monk was only of the Formation realm, and his Golden Crow fire was far less powerful than the Golden Crow True Fire Fan held by the Little Fox. Therefore, he was not panicked at all. He just swam a few times and quickly withdrew from the splashing range of the Golden Crow fire. Seeing that he chose to retreat without hesitation, the Golden Crow monk was also a little surprised. It was not that he had never fought with dragon monks before. Since most dragons were cold and violent, they would not directly escape when facing the Golden Crow fire, but would mostly use water spells to counter. But his flame magic was actually much stronger than that of the same level. As long as the opponent used water spells to counter, his flames could directly turn water into high-temperature steam, thereby burning the opponent's scales and body. As for the Long in front of him, his tactical awareness was so sophisticated that he was indeed not an ordinary dragon. Thinking of this, the Golden Crow monk flapped his wings again, and his expression became obviously serious. Interesting, let me have some fun. A jet of flame burst out from its wings, and it suddenly accelerated and swooped down towards Long, almost getting close in an instant, and its sharp claws quickly clamped towards Long's 3-inch body. This is the Dragon Claw martial art of the Golden Winged Bird clan, which is specifically used to grab the neck below the dragon's head, which is also the most difficult point for the dragon to exert force when twisting its body. As long as he is caught by his claws, and then a Golden Crow flame explosion comes, he will basically be half dead or crippled. In the stands in the distance, the clan leader Qin Bian was also shocked, because the Golden Crow monk named Jin Yan was obviously faster than the Feather Clan monks of the same realm. If Long was caught off guard and not prepared, he would be in trouble. Before he could say a word to stop it, he saw that the Golden Crow had stretched out its claws like lightning and clamped towards Long's fragile neck. The next second, it clamped nothing. Because Long had suddenly transformed into a human form, his body shrank rapidly, just in time to avoid the Golden Crow's claws. He stepped down and stepped on the dragon raw sword that he had just summoned. Then he turned into a sword light and suddenly went behind Jinwu and stabbed him hard on the back. Jinwu also reacted quickly and immediately decided to take the sword light head on. He took the opportunity to condense a fire spell to counterattack, but he didn't expect that the sword would separate from Long again before it pierced his iron like feathers. As soon as Long had finished circling behind him, he suddenly restored his true form as a dragon and fiercely wrapped around Jinwu's body. Jinwu immediately followed suit and directly transformed into a human-shaped armor body, shrinking his body to avoid the dragon's stranglehold. As a result, he was hit hard from behind as soon as he transformed into a human form. Long actually pretended to strangle him to trick him into changing his form, and then whipped him hard on the back with his tail, knocking him completely down and smashing him into the ground. Chapter 622 The Greedy Ones are here too. When the two are fighting on the field, many dragon monks gathered in the viewing area in the distance. Long who stared at the distance nervously, afraid that the Golden Crow monk would suddenly use a killing move to harm Long. Gilinga was relatively calm. She occasionally looked at the battle on the field and quietly looked at the expressions of the spectators around. Qin Bian was very calm. After all, this was the territory of the Kanglong clan. If he, the clan leader, was surprised, stunned, and terrified at every turn, the clan members below would definitely be infected by the panic. As for the Vermilion Bird Princess Fengyan, at first she just smiled and watched the competition on the field, her expression calm and composed. When the Golden Crow used the Dragon Claw and Long suddenly used the mutual transformation of his true body and armor body to dodge this killing move, she slightly restrained her smile and became serious. Then Long turned into a human form and swung out the flying sword, and then the flying sword circled down and was just stepped on by him. There was a flash of surprise in the red eyes of this prince. Of course, as the most warlike vermilion bird among the Feather Clan, Fengyan's vision and knowledge are naturally not low. This move of stepping on the sword in mid-air, called Cloud Dragon Vertical Turn, is a very rare and extremely difficult skill to practice in the Shanking School of Shushan. When the Sword Immortal is in the process of killing the opponent with the unity of man and sword, he suddenly cancels the unity of man and sword, avoids the opponent's attack by cancelling his own displacement, and then merges with the sword again. Considering that the unity of man and sword is the ultimate move of the Shushan Sword Immortal, it consumes a lot of true essence, and the consumption of opening it twice is even more exaggerated. Therefore, most Sword Immortal schools will not teach this move at all, thinking that it is too showy and has no practical value. Even in Shushan, only 1 in 100 can use this move, so Long used it in the East Empire realm. Sure enough, he successfully calculated the Golden Crow monk thoroughly, and then tripped the opponent into a floor, and smashed him to the ground with a dragon's tail. The Golden Crow monk suddenly lost his balance and fell to the ground. Before he could climb out of the pit, Long had already pounced on him again. In order to hit the man who was down and out in time and not give him any time to react, this time Long used an extremely rough body impact. Thanks to his dual cultivation with Gilinga, the strength of Long's scales had increased significantly. At this time, the divine dragon descended from the sky and smashed down fiercely, knocking the Golden Crow monk who had just climbed out of the pit unconscious. That's enough. Fengyan suddenly stood up and said, "Let's stop here. Why not call it a draw?" Qin Bian tried to smooth things over. No need. Feng Yan said indifferently, this guard has always been arrogant. It's a good thing to teach him a lesson this time. After hearing this, the Golden Crow monk quickly stood up and shouted anxiously, Your Highness. I haven't lost yet, I can still fight. Enough. Feng Yan scolded him, you have already lost, don't you think it's not shameful enough? The Golden Crow monk was speechless and could only silently change back to human form, take out a golden feather from his waist, hand it to Long Long and said, I, Shlia, am willing to admit that you are my opponent. Shlia? Long Long was surprised. The dialect of the Feather Clan means rock-like warrior in our Golden Crow clan. The Golden Crow monk answered seriously, and seeing that Long Long didn't seem to want to take it, what do I want your male bird feather for? He directly stuffed it into his hand and gritted his teeth and said, After defeat, offering feathers is the rule of our Feather Clan warriors. When I defeat you in the future, you must return this feather to me. Long Long. What, do I have to keep the feathers for you? Take them and make carpets right away. Everyone set off one by one and returned to the reception room in Jianmu. This time, Feng Yan's praise for Long Long was obviously much more sincere. You fought very well. It is really ingenious to think of using the Dharma body to dodge the attack. Your Highness is flattering. Long Long replied, it was just a sudden inspiration. I am sorry to make you laugh. It's not a trivial trick. Feng Yan smiled meaningfully, for people like us who are good at flying, such tricks are of great value. This is true. The Dragon Clan and the Feather Clan are naturally good at flying. Therefore, by switching between the real body and the Dharma body, the volume can be rapidly reduced while continuing to fall, and a sudden displacement can be achieved. As for the Hare Clan, the Horn Clan and others who live on the ground, they are relatively less useful. I heard that Long Long, you have visited the Jinwu Clan in the three-legged mountain range in the past. Feng Yan suddenly asked tentatively. Yes. Long Long said frankly, in the past, Long and I went from Nanzhao to Dongzhao, and we took the route of the three-legged mountain range. Oh? Feng Yan raised her eyebrows, what happened later? What do you mean later? Long Long wondered. The Jinwu Clan entertained you, isn't that rude? Feng Yan laughed amiably. Your Highness, you are too polite. Long Long said blankly, Long and I had not yet transformed, and we had no reputation, so how could we be entertained by the Jinwu Clan? Long and I passed through the checkpoints. Feng Yan was silent for a moment, and suddenly covered her mouth and chuckled. This little dragon is really interesting. As long as he admits that he has been to the Jinwu Clan and has been to the Yuan Cave, the Jinwu Clan will have something to say. There is no passage in the Yuan Cave to the outside world, how did you get to Dongzhao? However, if he does not admit that he has been to the Yuan Cave and has not been to the Jinwu Clan, then there is another question. The entire three-legged mountain range is under the control of the Jinwu Clan, how did you get through? Stupid people tell the truth, and smart people deny it completely, but both of them were corresponding flaws. He admitted that he had been to the Jinwu tribe, but he did not go down to the Yuan Cave to exchange for access rights, but chose to pay to pass. This is the reason with the least flaws that can be obtained after careful consideration, but he just asked the question suddenly, and Long Long was able to answer it, which shows that he is either cautious by nature and well prepared, or he is good at responding and has quick wits. In comparison, his Jinwu guard is obviously the type with a bad brain, and he pales in comparison with Long Long. Feng Yan suddenly felt a little bored, because among the Feather Tribe, brainless raptors like the Jinwu guard are the majority, focusing only on improving their strength, and not caring about knowledge. But only by entering the core management of the Demon Tribe will you know that an extremely smart elder is enough to match three powerful elders no matter how strong the strength is, can it be stronger than the ancestor? But the ancestor may not be able to manage the family well. Thinking of this, Feng Yan finally couldn't help but get greedy. How lucky is the Dragon Clan to have such a descendant with such bloodline, wisdom, and strength come to us and ask to join. If it were our Feather Clan, well, should we arrange a marriage? Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible. The Dragon Clan would definitely be obsessed with marriage within the clan and would never let outsiders interfere. But now is an extraordinary time. Chapter 623. Unexpected Road. Feng Yan coveted Long Long's body. This was normal, who wouldn't covet it? Both the Black Turtle Patriarch and the deceased Kulin Emperor had wanted to form an alliance with the Dragon Clan and arrange a marriage for Long Long. However, the Kulin Emperor valued his bloodline, while Feng Yan valued his wisdom more. Among the feathered people in Nanzhao, all those with strong bloodliness were known for being violent and unruly. The Vermilion Bird clan was relatively better, with some smart guys, but overall it was still a family that advocated fighting. Among the direct descendants of the vermilion-bird patriarch, Fen Yan was probably the smartest high-ranking feathered person. Because of this, she looked at Long Long, a demon clan with complete bloodline and wisdom, differently, but she couldn't issue an order directly like the Culling Emperor, nor could she, like the Black Tortoise Patriarch, beat around the bush to force Keelinga over. She hadn't even decided on the object of marriage yet. The faces of several sisters flashed through her mind. On the surface, Fen Yan was still dealing with Qin Biao Wang's chat. Suddenly, she said casually, the new Culling Emperor did send us an edict after he ascended the throne. Oh? Qin Biao Wang's eyes lit up. Then I think it should be encouragement. Indeed, it is encouragement. Fen Yan smiled slightly. After the Emperor ascended the throne, he sent edicts of encouragement to the princes of all parties. This behavior is generally considered to be a kind of appeasement, that is, sending a signal of I don't want any trouble during this period. However, the previous emperor directly fought with the Yu tribe of Namzhao. Even if the war was stopped, no peace treaty was signed. It was clear that he would fight again after catching his breath. Then the emperor died, and the new emperor ascended the throne. He directly overturned the national policy set by the previous emperor and turned his attitude towards Nanzhao to friendly, which means that Zhongzhao was indeed weak to a certain extent now. Of course, this is probably also expected by the princes of all directions. How could an illegitimate child who had never appeared before have the prestige to become an emperor? If it weren't for the Culling Patriarch's strong protection, and if Queen Ulya hadn't used the political power of the White Tiger of Western Province, it's possible that the emperor would have been overthrown by the Culling tribe right after he ascended the throne. He must have consolidated his political prestige as soon as possible. Qin Biao Wang didn't care about this. What he really wanted to find out was the attitude of Namzhao. Would he turn to the Culling White Tiger camp? Or Chuang? From the insider ambushed in Nanzhao, it was learned that the voices of the Yu tribe in favor of Chuan were even higher. After all, Nanzhao and Zhongzhao had been at war for so long, and it was impossible to expect most of the Yu tribe to consider such a thing as an alliance with Zhongzhao. The vast majority of the people only understood international politics in the two concepts of he is our friend and he is our enemy. Unfortunately, politics is never something that the grassroots masses can decide. And this Princess Fen Yan is said to be very favored by the clan leader and the ancestor. Her attitude can determine the true attitude of the Yu tribe to some extent. Excuse me. Fen Yan was very cunning and kept the secret. It's too difficult to make a decision in this situation. Before hunting, you have to lock the prey first, and the Feather Clan wants to continue to see more clearly. Oh. Qin Biao Wang immediately understood. The Feather Clan has not made a decision yet. Fen Yan explained that it depends on the price offered by both camps, but Qin Biao Wang guessed that His Highness had actually made a decision a long time ago, but he still needed time to convince the clan leader and the ancestor. By the way. Fen Yan leaned forward slightly and showed an interested gesture. I'm very curious about the attitude of the Dragon Clan. After all, it is said that your last trip to Zhongzhao was not very pleasant. It was a simple and clear test, and Qin Biao Wang did not intend to give a direct and rude answer. He said ambiguously, it can't be said to be unpleasant, but many changes have happened. Indeed. Fen Yan smiled hypocritically. Zhongzhao has always been the center of the vortex of political struggle in the Eastern Empire realm. No matter what Emperor Culling thinks, it will eventually involve forces from all sides. She sighed half-truthfully, and said faintly, I've been reading history books recently, and the number of politicians from all parties who died in Zhongzhao was 7 times that of those who died in the other 4 states. There is no doubt that such a political whirlpool is very good at tearing people in it apart easily. In fact, the best way is not to get involved in it. But these are not something we can decide, Qin Biao Wang said half a sentence subconsciously, and suddenly reacted. This His Royal Highness Thu now seems to have something else to say. As we all know, the higher the position of the leader, the more he likes to speak in a roundabout way. Some of them are to create a mysterious feeling of unpredictable power, but more of them are to act as an IQ filter, to filter the IQ of the opposite audience. Politics is an absolute game of gambling, and a pig teammate is more terrible than a god enemy. Everyone needs to carefully choose their teammates, and whether they can understand the hints in the words is the first step in the screening. Qin Biao Wang began to think carefully. Don't get involved. Not participating in the fight between the two camps is of course what the Dragon Clan dreams of. After all, fighting will inevitably bring damage. It would be best if you can sit and watch the two sides fight to the death. But the problem is that the two camps will not be stupid enough to let you sit back and reap the benefits. Most of the time, after confirming that you must remain neutral, that is, the opposite camp will not protect you, they will take the initiative to kill you. However, considering the size of the Dragon Clan, it is unlikely to be destroyed. Most likely, they will be forced to take sides under extreme pressure. It would be better to take the initiative to take sides. Could it be that His Highness Feng Yan actually made such an unreliable decision? Qin Biaoan looked at Feng Yan with a wrong look in his eyes, but Feng Yan still maintained a decent smile, but was slightly disappointed in his heart. At this time, Long Long was sitting in the lower seat. Although with his cultivation at the transformation stage, he was not qualified to be in the same hall with the Demon Kings, but the fact that the Kanglong Patriarch and the clan leader recognized his wisdom at the same time was another matter. He was like other big guys throughout the whole process, listening attentively to the conversation between the two leaders, and seeing this, he said, "Your Highness Feng Yan is right. After all, no one wants to be involved in the vortex, but most of the time, because of their own weak strength, they can't resist the trend after all." Qin Biaoan nodded coercively, agreeing with Long Long's remarks. "This political struggle, can you not get involved if you want to, huh?" He suddenly realized that Long Long also had something to say, and after all, he was a family member, so he at least remembered to emphasize the key words. Weak strength. Wait, if it is impossible to not take sides in this political struggle with the power of the Dragon Clan alone, then what if they form an alliance with the Feathered Clan? Forming an alliance with the Feathered Clan, this is a path that has never been imagined, but if they really form an alliance with the Feathered Clan, then by gathering the power of the two princes, they can completely become the third camp in the Eastern Empire realm. The Kulin White Tiger camp and the Black Tortoise camp will definitely fight each other because of the competition for the Emperor's orthodox legal principles. But the third camp, like the Dragon Clan Feather Clan, because they have enough power chips, can completely sit in the southeast and watch from the sidelines, and even take the initiative to help them rebalance when the situation gradually tilts, and then continue to watch them consume each other's strength. Let's Thong Zhao, Shizhao and Bizhao bleed into rivers. What a beautiful thing. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 624. The Unexpected Confidante. Feng Yan was a little disappointed. Qin Biaoan didn't understand what she meant at first. This doesn't mean that the patriarch of the Kanglong clan is stupid. After all, many smart people can't break through their own thinking patterns, but the Kanglong clan obviously has no intention of standing by and watching. The Dragon Clan and the Feather Clan formed an alliance to form a third camp in the southeast to protect themselves. This sounds beautiful, but Feng Yan, who was as sharp as political wisdom, almost immediately saw the fatal flaw. The foundation of the alliance between the two is very unstable, far less than the other two camps. Needless to say, the alliance between the Chuanwu camp and Kiwihun, the Prince of Kulin, is almost mutually bound. If Kiwihun loses the support of the Chuanwu clan, he will not have the strength to compete for the throne. If the Chuanwu clan loses Kiwihun, there will be no legal basis to interfere with his Thongzhou royal court. Therefore, the internal stability and fighting will of the Chuanwu camp are very strong. The Kulin and White Tiger camps are stronger than the Chuanwu clan in strength, but their internal stability is weaker. First of all, there is no trust between Empress Liu and Kulin Patriarch, and both sides even have a strong dislike for each other. The only person who prompted the two tribes to unite was the illegitimate Emperor Qiqiaosun. His own legality and political prestige were too fragile, and he needed Empress Liu and Kulin Patriarch to endorse him at the same time, so that the two could stand together despite their disgust. Secondly, the diplomatic relations between the Horn clan and the Hare clan were not very good, which can be seen from Liu's undisguised hatred for Qiwan. In addition to the internal factors of consolidating the emperor's rule, another major external factor that prompted the two to cooperate with each other was that neither side had the ability to fight against the Chuanwu clan independently, and could only be forced to unite. The two camps have common interests and common enemies, so they can be firmly held together, but if the Dragon Clan and the Feather Clan form an alliance, they do not have such conditions. First, the common interests of the two are relatively vague. Who said that standing by and watching is the best choice? There must be cultivators in the tribe who think that it is better to support Chuanwu Kulin and take the initiative to gain political benefits. From this point of view, the Feather Clan and the Dragon Clan have not actually formed a unified consensus internally. Second, there is no common enemy between the two. Xuan wants to oppose Kikiaosen, and Kalin White Tiger wants to oppose Ki with whom. The existence of such enemies can consolidate the consciousness of the tribe, but the Feather Clan and the Dragon Clan do not have it. In summary, it can be seen that even if the Feather Clan and the Dragon Clan form an alliance, it is a very loose alliance. Even if it is considered in the worst direction, both sides have the possibility of withdrawing from the alliance at any time, if the other two camps offer a higher price, and both sides need to be on guard against the other party withdrawing from the alliance. Of course, this flaw is not impossible to make up for. As long as the top leaders of both sides can reach a consensus and then show an extremely tough attitude towards the tribe members will spontaneously obey that command like sheep following the leader in the early stage. After the two major camps fight to the death and their respective heavy losses are exposed, the Feather Clan and the Dragon Clan will slowly reach a consensus. Oh, fortunately the tribe did not get involved in this muddy water. As a result, Qin Biaoan had never thought of this, which made Feng Yan speechless, as if I had considered the fifth floor, but you were actually in the basement. Fortunately, Long Long took over and reminded him, and Qin Biaoan immediately understood what he meant, which made Feng Yan's face lighten up a little. Of course, her admiration for Long Long became stronger and stronger, and she could hardly hold it back. Your Highness is right. In order to save face, Qin Biaoan could only pretend to I have already understood it and said slowly, we don't have any killing people who claim the throne, so why should we fight for the ownership of the Dongzhou royal court? To put it bluntly, our Dragon Clan only wants to protect the Dongzhou family business left by our ancestors, and we are not interested in anything outside of Dongzhou. This is nonsense. If the Dragon Clan really only wants to maintain the status quo, they should keep the identity of the Dragon Fox strictly confidential, and not even allow it to be spread within the clan. What are you trying to do by secretly building momentum for the princess of the previous dynasty? Yes. Feng Yan said lightly, our Feather Clan has always been peace-loving and unwilling to easily step into the political vortex of Dongzhou. This is similar to your Dragon Clan. This is also a lie. One of the reasons why the relationship between Nanzhou and Dongzhou was not harmonious is that the Feather Clan to the north of Nanzhou often invades the southern border of Dongzhou and conducts looting. If the Feather Clan claims to love peace, then there will be no Demon Clan with abundant martial virtues in the East Empire realm. The two looked at each other for a moment, and they secretly felt relieved. Very good, at least the other party has shown its attitude. As for being thick-faced and black-hearted, and boasting, those are harmless trifles. I wonder if I can meet the Kanglong ancestor? Feng Yan further asked tentatively. The subtext is that although you, the clan leader, agree, what about the ancestor? The ancestor has been in seclusion recently, and there are many mundane things, so it is inconvenient to disturb him. Qin Biaoan said obscurely. It means that the ancestor does not care about the mundane affairs of the clan, and my power as the clan leader is unlimited. Feng Yan immediately understood and said admiringly, that's good. After saying that, she turned her head to look at Long Long, sighing uncontrollably. Why is that, Your Highness? Long Long was a little scared by her look, and Qin Biaoan also asked. It's just a pity. Feng Yan smiled meaningfully, such a talented person, but my Yu clan can't use him. I really envy your Dragon Clan. Qin Biaoan keenly heard that the other party seemed to want to marry, and immediately made a secret verbal promise. If you and I can really become friends, then Long Long can also find a few good friends among the Yu clan cultivators, or even a confidante. Your Highness said that Long Long can't use him, which is really biased. Long Long also understood the elegant meaning of the music, and immediately stood up to avoid it and said, Your Highness, I'm grateful for your kindness, Long Long is unworthy of it. Ha 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 ha. Feng Yan covered her mouth and laughed. Qin Biaoan seemed to be saying, as long as our two tribes form an alliance, Long Long can also find a wife within your Yu tribe. But metaphors are metaphors after all. If he turns his back and refuses to admit it, the Yu tribe will certainly have no choice. Feng Yan is such a scheming person that she was naturally not fooled by Qin Biaoan. She just showed a fake smile of I'm very happy. Long Long, you go first. Seeing that the matter was basically settled and only the Kanglong ancestor had to make the final decision, Qin Biaoan said with a pleasant face. Long Long said goodbye and left. As soon as he left the hall, he saw a figure hurriedly disappearing behind that porch. Long Long. Who is that? On the beach near the seaside, Long was bored and building a castle with sand. Suddenly, Qin Yi ran over in a hurry. Sister Fox. She shouted in a panic, it's over. Brother Long Long is going to marry someone else. Long. She collapsed the castle with one blow of her tail, stood up and asked in a lost voice. What? My father said so himself. Qin Yi almost shed tears. How could the promised Fuang not count? He should go to the Feather Tribe to find a confidante. Chapter 625. Good Fox. Long left Jian Yu silently, secretly calculating the next situation. Previously, including himself, everyone thought that the Yu clan of Nanzhao would definitely defect as Thongzhao without thinking, because the Yu clan's fighting style was too strong, so everyone regarded them as brainless and reckless. It's like when a Shushan cultivator offended someone outside, everyone's first reaction was that it must be the Shushan reckless man who made the first move. Stereotypes are indeed very efficient in identifying people, but of course they will miss some unique people, such as His Highness Fengyan, who is a rare brain in the Yu clan. Based on Longlong's observation of Qin Biaowang and Patriarch Kanglong, these two will definitely be tempted. In other words, Xuan, Kalin or White Tiger, and Thunao or Kanglong, the next Donghuan realm will become a battleground for these three camps. If it was just the three kingdoms, it would be relatively easy to analyze. Basically, two people would unite to fight one, and if they were at a disadvantage, they would stick together, and if they were at an advantage, they would defect. But in fact, the camps here are not stable. The Kalin and the White Tiger are disgusted with each other, and the Azure Dragon and the Vermilion Bird are also reluctant to stick together. Not to mention being united, it would be good if they don't hold each other back. What's more troublesome is that other camps will offer higher prices at any time, and then the allies who originally established an alliance relationship will suddenly turn against you without your knowledge. Long knows the terribleness of traitors, and the difficulty of this game is that everyone is a traitor, and the complicated relationships are difficult for him to sort out, let alone judge the situation. Oh, trouble. When Long came to the seaside, he saw Longhu and Qin Yi, whispering together, gritting their teeth from time to time, and I don't know what they are discussing. Hey, when did their relationship become so good? Long felt a little puzzled, and was about to step forward to ask, but suddenly he had an instinctive premonition of something bad, and immediately changed his mind and wanted to run away. What are you doing here? Gilinga's voice suddenly came from behind. Long's body shook violently, and then he saw Longhu and Qin Yi in front of him turned their heads and looked at him with strange eyes. Calm down, calm down. Long hurriedly held his breath and began to brainwash himself quickly. First of all, Qin Yi and Gilinga were both brought together by the elders. I did not directly agree, and the two sides did not sign a marriage contract. It is equivalent to an ordinary friendship. What is there to be afraid of? Secondly, Long was also entrusted by the elders, and they are also in love, but Fox has never said that she wants to be my girlfriend. Although there is no such thing as boyfriend and girlfriend in this world, it is not said that it has not been said. Since it is just a relationship between confidantes, what is there to be embarrassed about? Thinking of this, he showed a frank expression and asked curiously, what are you talking about here? Long smiled gently, but somehow, this smile was very similar to Fengyan's fake smile in the reception room, giving people a feeling of smiling on the skin but not on the flesh. What do you think of the girl from the Feathered Clan? What do you mean? Long was puzzled. It's the kind of girl who is small, soft, has a clear voice and chatters. Longhu asked with a smile. Not very good. Long was silent for a long time, but the desire to survive still overcame his self-esteem, so he pretended to be serious and said, too petite means weak, soft means too easy to be bullied, and a clear voice but chatters will make your head hurt if you hear it too much. Oh? Fengyan's cold voice came from behind, weak strength, easy to be bullied, and talking makes your head hurt, right? She originally just wanted to come to Long to chat, show the affinity of a superior, and explore his character, but she heard Long's racial discrimination here, and she was immediately furious, and murderous intent overflowed. The girls were so scared that they scattered immediately, only Longhu stayed where he was, trembling with fear, enduring Fengyan's cold murderous aura, and still looked at her stubbornly. Your Highness, everyone has their own unique views on things, and there is no right or wrong. Besides, Long didn't criticize you, so why are you so angry? What a sharp-tongued fox. Fengyan sneered, your sharp tongue is very similar to your mother's, but your strength is far worse than your father's. Ahem, your highness. Long hurriedly tried to make amends, I was just joking just now, not blaming the Yu clan, indeed. Longhu counterattacked lightly, if my parents were still here, how dare your highness speak to me like this? Even if Emperor Yinglong was in power, my Yu clan would never vote as Thongzhao. Fengyan said in a sharp tone. Stop. Long had to stop the two of them. Your Highness, this is the Dragon clan's resident. Your every move represents the Feather Clan. If you make a scene here, it will damage the hard-earned friendly relationship between the two clans. Fen Yan stared down at him. This vermilion bird highness was extremely tall, half a head taller than Long Long. Suddenly, she stretched out her right hand painted with scarlet nail polish and frivolously lifted Long Long's chin. What do you think the relationship between our two tribes is like, Xiaolong? She said in a charming tone, putting her lips close to Long Long's ear, and said with a breath as sweet as orchid, there has never been any friendly relationship, only calculations based on interests. If you really want to talk about love, it's very simple. Just marry into our vermilion bird tribe. If you can please me, the feather tribe may be able to establish some kind of more solid relationship with the scale tribe that transcends interests. She ignored the almost angry eyes of the dragon fox, retracted her slender right hand, and regained her original calm. But if you still can't tell good from bad, and want to entangle with this princess of the former dynasty, then sooner or later you will realize the cruelty of this world. It will never pity any naive and ridiculous love. After leaving these words, Fen Yan turned and left. After His Highness the vermilion bird completely disappeared from the sight of the two men, Dragon Fox collapsed directly into Long Long's arms. Talking to a high-level demon, just to resist the aura of the other party and the instinctive fear from the heart, exhausted most of her strength. Long Long hugged her gently, and felt her petite body trembling slightly. Yes, in fact, my fox is also petite, soft, and speaks crisply and chirpingly. But as long as she is for herself, even if she faces a big demon that can crush two people with just one finger, she can muster up all the courage to stop the other party. In my heart, such a dragon fox is a tall, tough, good fox that can bring people a sense of security. Well, if I were really a demon, I would definitely marry her. Long Long. What a pity, I want to be a human being. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.